Hey guys, good evening. It's wonderful to see so many of you guys waiting. I am really excited about tonight's stream. I have been a big fan of Heikala's art for a while, and I have been trying to get her art supply box for a while as well. It tends to sell out very quickly, but I managed to get my hands on it. So we are going to start out by taking a look at what we're going to be taking a look at today. And if you guys are still interested, they are still available. I have absolutely no affiliation with Heikala. In fact, as with many of the things that I review here on the channel, they don't even know I exist. So I just was interested. I am a fan of their art, and I thought you guys might be interested in it too. So if you're interested in ordering your own box, you can order it from Heikala's shop, and the box itself is $159 USD, which I know is kind of pricey. So before I dive into this box, before we take a look at what's inside here, I do have some of my own business to take care of first. So next week, I am running a live stream to celebrate 7-inch Cara Day. So Joseph suggested that we pick 7-1 as 7-inch Cara Day because, you know, you've got the 7 and then you've also got the 1 representing the inch. And we're going to do something really different and fun this stream. So if you like tabletop adventures, if you enjoy role-playing, this could be a really fun stream for you. So Joseph spent a lot of time populating this, at the time, free-to-use resource called AI Dungeon, which is, it basically utilizes AIs and algorithms to help you tell stories. And this was typically done for a Dungeons and Dragons type setting, but Joseph put a bunch of the Lilliputian living prompts and spent a lot of time tweaking the world so that it's actually a Lilliputian and 7-inch Cara AI dungeon. And we are going to be trying it out. We are going to be giving it its first run on July 1st, starting at 8 p.m. CST, so that is a Thursday evening. So I get to teach a class, come home, rest a little bit, and then jump online to role play with you guys. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping you guys will get involved, make suggestions, and help decide how the story goes. And if there's anything that's particularly exciting or, you know, inspiring, I plan on doodling it to the best of my ability. It's probably going to be very rough sketches, but that's fine. So hopefully you guys will join me on July 1st. I'll go ahead and drop the link in the chat for you guys. And if you want to make sure you don't miss it, you can click that set reminder button, and hopefully, fingers crossed, YouTube will let you know when it actually goes live. So I already mentioned that the AI dungeon was populated with prompts from Lilliputian Living. So if you guys are not familiar with it, I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about what I do, both online and off, especially because, you know, we might have some new viewers today. So Lilliputian Living is a 4-year collection of illustrations and written prompts that I've worked on over the years. And usually I do them in October, so it was kind of my own Inktober sort of thing before Jake Parker decided that that was his exclusive playground to play in. I know he invented it, but for many years he encouraged other people to play in it. Now not so much, that's fine. I write all my own prompts, I do all my own brainstorming, and I've used this as a tool to help me develop the Lilliputian world, the tiny world that 7-inch Cara takes place in a way that I wasn't necessarily able to do so in 7-inch Cara itself. And it's actually available if you would like your own copy. You can get it in dead tree format and in digital format. I think the digital one is available on Gumroad, but it is actually probably available through itch.io now that I'm thinking about it. But you can get your own dead tree copy like this one here over on the Natto shop, which is my storefront, for about $10. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the culmination of 4 years of work. So that is over 120 black and white illustrations and 120 different world building prompts. And we've used the prompts and the pets and the seasons from this to help populate AI Dungeon to, you know, hopefully create a more believable world and a more fun environment. So this could also be great if you run your own D&D campaigns or your own tabletop gaming campaigns and you're looking for, you know, a different kind of world to role play in. This could be a great little handbook. And the most recent entries were from 2020. So just last year, we finally published this one in, I want to say, December of 2020. Although honestly, 2020 and 2021 have been such a blur. Now, we're going to be talking a lot about a different watercolor artist tonight. But before we do that, I do want to show you guys my 2 watercolor comics that are available. So the first and second volume of 7-Inch Kara. As I say in all of my videos, you can read it for free at 7inchkara.com, but I like to read my comics in dead tree format. So if you would like to own a copy, you can purchase it again through the Natto shop, and I'll drop a link for that in just a second. But this is where all my watercolor experience comes from, is 8+ years of painting hundreds of comic pages of this watercolor comic. So a lot of my reviews come from everything that I've learned with learning how to use watercolor and learning how to get effects in watercolor and utilizing it in the comic storytelling medium, which has its own unique challenges. So when I say I sometimes paint dozens of tiny faces on a page, I'm not joking. Or that the color gamut might shift drastically from panel to panel. That's also the case. And I think painting comics has its own unique challenges. And I'm really happy that I can share what I've learned from painting comics with you guys, both through tutorials and through the reviews that I do. So if you like my work, if you enjoy it and you want to own your own, last year we successfully kickstarted the printing of volume 2. So it is in beautiful full color with these gorgeous glossy pages. And it was printed on sustainably forested wood, which is actually really important to me because a major theme of 7-Inch Kara is this closeness and living with nature. So that's really pretty important. But this is my baby. I have spent so much time working on this, and I hope to be able to start volume 3 in the near future. So if you like the work that I do here on the channel, if you enjoy what I do, if it brings you joy and you think you would also enjoy these, or if you know someone who would, or if you'd like to take a moment and request them from your local library, which costs you nothing but helps me out a lot, I would definitely appreciate it. It would really mean a lot to me. So let me go ahead and, Joseph already grabbed all of the links. So I really appreciate that. That makes it so much easier for me. And if you are new here, if this is your first time hanging out with me, hi, welcome. I hope you'll stick around, and I hope you guys will consider subscribing. And if you are already subscribed, do me a really big favor. Would you let me know if YouTube is letting you know when there are new videos? Because I feel like this is a persistent thing I struggle with. And would you also let me know if you would be interested in joining a mailing list where once a week I send you all the videos that went live in a handy email form so you can see what you want to watch and just watch that? Because I know for me, I don't get notifications from from Gmail. Wow. Sorry. I don't get notifications from YouTube, all owned by Google. I don't get notifications from YouTube when some of my favorite artists update their channels, and I actually have to go and check. And usually the way I find that out is like seeing, oh, they updated it on Twitter or on Instagram. And if there's any way that I can make it a little bit easier for you guys to watch my stuff, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know. But yeah, let me know if getting a once a week or a weekly email letting you know what went live would be helpful for you guys. All right, so I appreciate you guys giving me a chance to talk about my baby. Let me go ahead and switch the view back over to Heikala's or Heikala's. If I'm mispronouncing it, I'm so sorry. To their site, because I was really excited about this box. They work very differently than I do, and the way they utilize the materials they utilize is just a different method of working. So it still has the watercolor effect, but it isn't necessarily straightforward traditional watercolor. And as you know, a watercolor illustrator and comic artist, I'm interested in all different kinds of watercolor. I'm sure you guys have seen that through the stuff I talk about here on the channel. But I am particularly interested in how other watercolor comic artists and other watercolor illustrators with a more comic and cartoony style, how they handle their supplies. And I don't know what's wrong with me. I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I was really excited about it. I've been a fan of her art for a while. It's been hard to get my hands on this box because it is quite popular. It does tend to send out pretty quickly. And she uses completely different materials from what I use, which is probably the most exciting thing about this to me, is we have a very similar end result goal. Sorry. Sorry, there's something about this box that I'm a little bit allergic to. I think it was sitting at the post office for a little bit. Sorry. We use very different materials, and I'm really excited to hopefully learn some new techniques, learn some new tricks, and maybe just kind of change how I think about watercolor or add some new things to how I think about watercolor. Oh, so sorry. Let me pop out the chat now and kind of get everything reorganized. Oh, sorry. Chat kind of covers up the site. So what is the most exciting thing for me about this is that she works with these acrylic inks. So she really waters them down, which allows for almost like infinite layerability, unlike watercolor, where you do start to get relifting, you do get things turning to mud. There's like a limit to what you can do with traditional watercolor. So I was particularly excited about that. And you know, for a while, I tried to put together my own dupe of this kit, and I found that I just wasn't really able to do that. So I think I'm also thinking, even if I try some of these methods and I'm not in love with the methods themselves, because, you know, every artist has their own work methods. They have their own workflow that works best for them. Not every tutorial, not every method is going to work well for every artist or every artist's goal. I do think there are a lot of ways I can repurpose these things. All right, so everything seems to be fairly well packaged. Oh, and it came in this really cute custom box. You know, at one point I really wanted to do like 4 times a year a subscription box where I put my favorite supplies, but I think I would need to be quite a bit more popular for that to really be sustainable. But I think that would be a lot of fun. All right, so inside our box, thank you for getting the Heikala art supply box. This set is carefully selected, sorry, I cannot read. This set is a carefully selected assortment of my personal favorite supplies for creating inked paintings or ink paintings. I always feel tremendous joy when I can inspire others with my art, and I wanted to take that idea further by putting together this set for you to get inspired and create your own masterpieces. I'm so grateful for your support, and I want you to know that by buying this set, you directly support me creating more art. And this is true for any artist. Whenever you buy from their online shops, whenever you buy from them at conventions, whenever you buy from them at shows, you're directly supporting them actually creating more art, not just financially, but also by encouraging them, by showing them that there is a dedicated audience who really wants what you have to say and really wants what you're producing. Thank you. I hope you will enjoy the supplies in this set and take them with you on your art journey. Please recycle all packaging materials accordingly. Thank you for your help. Heikala. I already love the custom packaging. I feel like that can really help make the difference when you're putting something together like this and make it feel like a cohesive thing. Oh, how cute is this? There's illustrations of everything that's inside the box. Okay, so we have synthetic brushes, we have a brush pen, we have Saunders Waterford watercolor paper, we have a 4-color eraser, we have a mono eraser, we have a water brush, we have colored inks, we have masking fluid in that special applicator bottle, so it's definitely not that masking fluid. We have a pencil case, we have colored pencils, we have Nicker poster color, we have a sketchbook, we have a gel pen, and we have a pen. And then inside at the top, actually I should take a picture while I'm thinking about it. We have, oh, that's so cute, Heikala Art Supply Box Owner's Guide. So this is a pamphlet that is supposed to teach us how to use these materials. And to me, that's one of the more important things with these kind of boxes is that kind of insider information, because you could look up on the website and probably find, and in fact, I know where you can get all of these things with the exception of the custom Heikala stuff. I know where you can buy all of that. Now, it would cost more than the cost of this box, depending on where you live, including shipping, especially since you can't get all of these things in one place necessarily, so you're going to be paying shipping multiple times. But it's also how it's done, that knowledge. You know, you can have all the materials and still not know how to get that effect. And I will not have pictures of this since I know this is an important part. So I will say right off the bat, one of the things first of all, this is lovely print quality. I'll give her that. This is well printed. But one of the things I'm already a little disappointed in is I was hoping we would get a booklet with the techniques explained. You know, so I am a bit disappointed in that. I was actually really hoping for that. I know that she shares her time lapse all the time, but sometimes it's really helpful to have, like, I collect Japanese art books and Japanese technique books, and one of the things I really like is the step-by-step demonstration of how the materials are used to get certain effects. And back when I wrote the blog, I took a lot of time trying to demonstrate that myself. So that's something that I'm looking for as a not beginner artist. So that's fine. That's just a minor quibble. Although, you know, it'd be helpful, right? That's why I paid the big money, was to get inside her brain. So we got 2 synthetic brushes, size 0 and size 4, made by Holbein. And Holbein, the paints themselves, you can get them in this country, but you can't get anything else. Size 4 is great for overall use and 0 for fine details. I especially like the handle in these brushes because unlike typical brushes with wooden handles that get damaged over time with moistures, these won't have that issue. The end of the handle can also be used to scrape off masking fluid. You can also use the end of the handle there when the paper's still wet to score the paper, and it'll actually create a lighter line. Pocket brush pen, Pentel, that's an old favorite. Amazingly versatile tool for creating thick and thin outlines and to fill wide areas with black. Let dry for at least half an hour so it won't smudge. Waterproof when dry. Comes with 2 refill cartridges. Colored inks, Rohrer and Klingner. These are the thing that is a little bit tricky to find in the US. And I know these are acrylic inks, but I think they handle a little bit differently because I have one bottle that I got in an art snacks, and it's a little less viscous, I found, than the FW inks. Selection of colored inks in colors cyan, magenta, yellow, purple, sap green, orange, and black. The bottles have a handy pipette to dispense just enough ink. The color selection that I have chosen allows for mixing a variety of different colors. I recommend using a porcelain palette or just a regular plate as a mixing surface. And if these are the acrylic inks, I think they are. If you use a porcelain plate, you can wash it off, but if it dries on there, you can just like scratch and scrub it off. Whereas with plastic, it's on there. So, sketchbook deleter. The paper in this sketchbook is slightly textured, great for sketching with a ballpoint pen or marker. Thanks to the spiral-bound spine, it is easy to draw horizontally or vertically, whichever you prefer. And I don't have this particular one here with me right now, but when I was in Japan traveling, I used those a lot, and this is very similar to that. It's a Maruman one. So with these kind of sketchbooks. I actually really like these kinds of sketchbooks. They're very cheap in Japan, and then in the US they're like stupid expensive because they're not commonly distributed here, but these things are great. They're great because they take marker well, they take watercolor decently well, they take color pencil okay. They're like good all-rounder travel sketchbooks. This one I particularly like because it's got a hard cover, and then it also has tie tabs at the front so you can actually secure it closed when you're traveling. This one doesn't, but I think the deleter ones are a little bit less expensive than those, but I'm probably wrong. You also get 2 erasers, the 4-color and the mono. So you guys might be familiar with the mono erasers. They're pretty popular in the US, although they're not as common. I have never seen a 4-color eraser, so that's a new one to me. I'm looking forward to that. The mono eraser is an all-round good eraser for erasing pencil lines, and the 4-color eraser is exceedingly good for erasing color pencil sketches from watercolor paper. All right, because I love me some colored line arts or colored sketches. Then we get a bottle of Nicker poster color. And I think that's what Studio Ghibli used to do when they were doing their cell backgrounds by hand. Great for corrections and finishing touches. Can be mixed with the ink to make pale tones of opaque color. This brand is used by some animation studios in Japan, like Studio Ghibli, to make background paintings. So it seems like she uses the Nicker poster color the way I use white gouache. Masking fluid, Masquepen. Now what makes this special is it has this really fine applicator tip. This masking fluid can be used to mask areas of the painting that you want to protect from paint. Masquepen comes with a handy nib so the fluid can be easily applied to the preferred surface. Masking tape, MT. And I use washi tape sometimes, but I never have that great a result with it. It's not adhesive enough to actually secure the paper. And if I put water on it, it tends to soak under and not actually mask. So this is kind of interesting for me because I'm over here like comparing, you know, how our processes differ, and what works for some artists doesn't always work for others, and vice versa. So it's really neat to see what she's using compared to what I find works. And I believe this came from Finland. So one thing I do want to point out is that Finland is not as humid and it's a colder climate. So some of the things that I'm going to possibly have an issue with, it might be due to the humidity of the American South. I always use this masking tape on the edges of my painting area. The adhesive is not too strong, so it won't rip the paper that easily, and the tape keeps the edges nice and clean. See, it never works like that for me. It always seeps under. Water brush, Pentel Gouache, medium, Pentel. This water brush is handy in multiple ways. I use it often when I'm on the go, so I don't have to carry a mug of water with me. If I want my illustration to have a colored outline, I fill the water brush with colored ink and use it like a brush pen for line art. Okay, so I have tried to dupe her technique in the past, and I was using FW acrylic ink, water, it was the turquoise color, watered down, and I found that it ruined my brush pen. I couldn't even finish. In fact, I have a time lapse of that on the channel. It's this mermaid kid. And what I ended up doing is I ended up just dipping my water brush in the ink and using some of the water to help it stay consistent. So this is another instance. This is why I wish she would explain some of her techniques, because I've seen some of these techniques in motion. I've tried to duplicate them and had absolutely no success. I think she also does a technique where she waters down her masking fluid and puts it in a water brush. It's her or another artist I really like. Omori might do that as well. And I've ruined water brushes like that. I've had no luck with it. And that's why I do wish there was more actual instruction here, because she might not realize that some of her techniques are kind of specialist techniques, but some of them are. And I mean, if I were to put together a box like this of my stuff, that's one of the areas I would really want to spend a lot of time, is explaining certain techniques and why I do certain things and why I use materials for that technique. So this is very inspiring for me. If only for what I would want to do if I had the audience to support such a thing. Gel Pen High Tech C Pilot. One of my favorite tools for freehand sketching. I mean, I used to use a Hi-Tech-C for sketching, and I used to love it for travel sketching, but I'm over here, I know how clean her sketches are, and I'm over here like, my sketches look like there's a lot of underdrawing. I can't just go in. One of my favorite tools for freehand sketching. The nib is fine and the ink flows nicely onto paper. Great when you are sketching with the quick strokes. Wow, sketching with quick strokes as the nib can keep up very easily. Okay, first off though, this does not like wet paper. So just, I've made that mistake. Don't make that mistake. It does not, it just doesn't want to work anymore. And also it doesn't want to go, I have never had success getting this and any white gel pens, now that I think about it. I've never had any success with these kind of gel pens or white gel pens over watercolors where I've done a lot of painting. But these are acrylic inks, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. With quick strokes, as the nib can keep up very easily. I do all of my sketches with a gel pen without ever erasing. Oh boy, definitely different methods. This method helped me to not focus on mistakes and to streamline my process. I'll definitely agree with this. And when I'm teaching younger artists, I do often encourage them to sketch with a not erasable color pencil or with a pen, because you want to focus on not correcting every little thing, not getting every little thing perfect. And that's another thing that traditional inking, not digital inking, will really hone in on. There's only so many times you can correct an area before you've ruined the paper. So sometimes you just have to accept that you're not happy with it, that you would have done it differently, and just move on to the next stage of the process. Color Pencil Polychromos from Faber Castell. These two color pencils are great for sketching on top of watercolor paper. When used lightly, you can't notice the sketches from underneath the paint. And see, I do a similar technique, except I like to use the Pilot Color lens. When used lightly, you can't notice the sketches from underneath the paint. I try to use the same color of color pencil as the color that I will paint on top of. This is also true, at least with the Color Enos, with alcohol markers as well, and that's how I get lineless alcohol marker art. For the most discreet result, colors in this set are Cobalt Green and Pink Madder Lake. Pen Neopico line 3, 0.3 millimeters deleter. All around good pen for sketching or doing line art. I use the pocket brush for objects close by and for things far away, and this for things far away to get a feeling of distance. This pen is great. Oh, I can't read tonight. This pen is also great if you like the look of uniform line work without varying line weight. Saunders Waterford cold press watercolor paper. I've reviewed this on the channel. I think this is a cellulose paper. That's an interesting inclusion. This paper is my favorite for creating ink paintings. It is very absorbent. No, wait, Saunders is cotton rags. Sorry, I was thinking Bockingford. I've reviewed both. It's very absorbent, but also handles brush pen line art very well. Because it is made with 100% cotton, you can make multiple layers with ink and water on it. And then pencil case by Private Case. This pencil case is made from 100% recycled cardboard. So when they said I was receiving a cardboard, ooh, okay, never mind. I got excited and then I got unexcited for a moment. I was expecting something much jankier. And then I saw this and I was like, oh, that actually looks really nice. And then I see how it's already starting to bow and that some of the edges are kind of peeling. I was like, oh no, it's kind of what I thought. Womp womp. It's really cool though that her logo is embossed on this. See, that's those like nice finishing touches that kind of tie the whole box together, and it doesn't just feel like a collection of art supplies. It feels like a curated selection, if you guys know what I mean. This pencil case is made from 100% recycled cardboard. It can fit a selection of your favorite tools so you can take them with you on the go. And then we have a guide for mixing colored inks, which I actually really appreciate. I mean, I'm familiar with it, but it's nice to have something like this handy. And then that's it. I really would have, if you ever do another version of this box, even if you charge more money for it, I would really appreciate a few pages, a zine, dedicated to how you do certain techniques. And maybe I'll just not be able to replicate those techniques because I live in a completely different climate and it's not very friendly to what you're doing, but it would be so helpful to at least know. And if I missed it, if Heikala does have a book of art techniques that I've somehow missed, I know they have art books, let me know in the chat. But I mean, to be real, it would have been nice included in this box if they do, even if that means charging more. Okay. Whew. I will actually do a price break. I will do my best to do a price breakdown at the end of the box. Now, I did really go on about how, to me, a lot of what makes something like this valuable, what could make something like this one of a kind in a way, like you can only get it from this shop, it's not even worth shopping around, is if this book had included a breakdown of her most used techniques. Even if you think, because I have a friend who, when they were doing their art book, they were doing it with techniques, and I was editing for them, and I would constantly be like, hey, explain how you do this, because your average artist, your average reader, your average art enthusiast isn't going to understand what you're talking about. And I feel like it's okay to assume your customer is a novice. I mean, I'm not, but I would not have minded that, because there's a lot of techniques that Heikala uses that I would love to learn how to do, and that I haven't been able to pick up from just watching the time-lapse videos. So that's one of the disappointments, is I appreciate the breakdown of the materials, like no joke, and the illustrations are adorable. I love them. And I like the color mixing sheet, but an explanation of the techniques would have been so helpful. I don't understand. I know some people are almost innately artists, but most people are not, especially for using new materials. And I mean, I am familiar with watercolor, but I mean, I'll show you guys. I mean, this is my bread and butter. This is what I paint with all the time, you know, like this is going to be very different from what we're taking a look at tonight. So I don't know, maybe I should do my box and just do pre-orders and just make as many as we get orders for. So we also have, this is a cutest, look at this cutie booty, this is so cute. But this is another instance of, I know there are techniques going on here. I can tell there's mixed media. I would have liked a breakdown of how to do it. So there you go. Here's all the vitals. I'll hold it up to the camera so you guys can see. Hopefully the camera will focus. We were just talking about investing in a 4K webcam. All right, so that's 30 minutes of me reading. Super fun times. Anyway, everything is beautifully packaged. There is a lot of care, a lot of attention put into how this box has been put together, which I really appreciate because it makes it feel more like an experience. So we have our two, also everything was packed in very nicely, you know, not a lot of wasted space, this is just check plus, you know. All right, so we have 2 boxes of our inks, and what are you? Are you the acrylic ink or not? Interesting. Because I kind of assumed it was the acrylic inks. I feel like, I mean, I've read the description a million times to myself, but I don't have a perfect memory, but I thought it was the acrylic inks. So this is our primary set. This is our complementary color set. Feels like there might be a tab in there that there is a tab in there, okay. I do, and another thing I'm thinking about, this is not at all to disparage Heikala. This is the art nerd in me, like, what if I put together a box? And the stickers, they add a lot. They are something you could print at home, and as long as you have a standard size box, you could gussy up any box, you know? Another thing, and this is just me, didn't promise this on the website, it would be neat to have a start to finish project, you know, with like maybe a graphite transfer drawing for people who don't necessarily feel that confident in their drawing skills, but they want to learn the techniques, and a pamphlet that walks you through start to finish. And that could be a great way to demonstrate different techniques, to help people feel confident with the materials, and to help them learn how to use the materials. Honestly, I was really hoping she would do that. That's an idea for my box, though. Ooh, these are very, look how neat this is. Like, look at that. That's like a transformer. Look at that. That's cool. Okay, so these are glass bottles. I will say they were very well packaged. No breakage. I do appreciate that. There's a lot of custom packaging in this box. Also, something that I like is that, let me move this aside for a sec. Okay, so this illustration, she might have used other colors, okay? I don't know, but it definitely reflects the primary colors included in here. And the box, so the box has like a demo illustration, and it also has the 3 colors and the color numbers. I like that. That's some thought put into that, and I appreciate that. This is not just let me jam some art supplies in a box and ship it out to you. It is clear that this takes time to put together. So I'm absolutely not disparaging that. So any things that okay, so Bomber Bee says they think it's India ink. It says pigmented drawing, so it could be India ink, and calligraphy ink, resistant to erasing and waterproof. So the thing is, if it's India ink, I've had bad experiences using alcohol marker on top of India ink because I have found that in general, the shellac used will reactivate with alcohol solvents. And I do have a bottle of the acrylic ink by this brand somewhere. I'll dig it up later and post a comparison, but I know the acrylic ink says acrylic ink. Well, if this is their India ink, this is going to actually make tracking down the price for this a little more challenging because I know where to get the acrylic ink. I don't necessarily know where to get the India ink. Sorry. Getting so excited, I'm like a bull in a china shop. And then here are our secondary colors, so our orange, our violet, and our sap green. This, I actually do, now that I'm looking at these, I do think the illustrations are made using just these colors, which I'm like a fan of that. I like that. And they're in little dropper bottles. And one kind of downside is the packaging is so cute. I don't want to toss it. And I've butted heads with my husband before because he's like, you don't need the packaging. And it's like, it's true, but I love it. But it's like, but you have a house full of packaging. And it's like, that's true, but I love it. Yeah, the Knicker poster color is very, that's why I don't own any. It's like a gouache almost, and I don't own any because I'm like, hoo, that's expensive, and I'm bad at gouache. Okay, so it feels like there's something in our pencil box here. Whoa, okay, all right. That is, I'm gonna say that a lot. I'm so sorry. That's one of the things I say when I'm reviewing stuff, and I'm like impressed with what I see. It's very dorky. All right, so we have our water brush. We have our Masquepen with a nylon nib. Oh, I wonder if this is the one with that we don't get a lot in the US. Here is our Pentel Pocket Brush. This is the Japanese version. So to be fair, when I am doing the price breakdown, I'm just gonna go with the American version if there's an applicable American version. So if I can't find this for the US, I'll link, you know, the closest I can find for this. But like for the Pentel Pocket Brush, those things are very ubiquitous. I'm just gonna grab from the cheapest source possible because that's how I roll. But there's going to obviously be things in this box that you can't necessarily dupe. Okay, so this is the 4-color eraser. It is made by a seed company. I've gotten a few of their plastic erasers before. She did say it's particularly good for color pencils, so I'm kind of excited about that. And then we have a small mono eraser. This is the old-fashioned kind that still include PVC. I think the ones you can get in the US now are the, I'm looking for one because I use these all the time. And you can tell I use them all the time because they look ratty. Anyway, the one with the green label is non-PVC, and it doesn't erase as well as this one does. All right, then we have some very cutely wrapped, someone just started, okay, yeah, y'all are totally welcome to start an all right so counter and a who boy because those are definitely verbal quirks. I have to edit those out of videos a lot. I'm going to open these in a minute. The packaging on these are so cute. Now, I know No Issue makes custom tissue paper. I don't know if that's who she's using, but I do know a source that does it in smaller quantities. Just saying. Just saying. High five, cute packaging hoarder. All right. So we have, and it's just plain white MT. Nothing wrong with that. I'm actually hoping this might stick better than the decorative stuff because I've only ever used the decorative stuff. So maybe this is going to be a little bit better of a sticker. We have a nice little pad of Saunders Waterford, Saunders Waterford watercolor paper. This is the 10x7 size. I think I have the 12x9 pad, and 10x7 is a size I use also, so that works out quite well. And then oh, this is bigger. All right. So there's one. So usually I buy this size because for travel, right? Because it can fit in my purse. It's very discreet. It doesn't take up a lot of space. So even though in general I like working larger, when I'm buying those kind of sketchbooks, I never justify getting the larger one. So I'm actually excited that she sent the bigger one. And it does have, so it's going to have this is actually maybe a little light. Oh yeah. It's a little lighter than cardstock, but heavier than drawing paper, if that makes sense. So I actually think my Maruman paper might be a little bit heavier than that. And that is it. That's the bottom of the box. You guys know I'm going to keep that box because that box is cute. Stupid cute. Put the boxes aside, put this aside. Put that very cute business card aside. We've got our inks. Actually, I'm trying to remember to grab pictures as I go so I can also share it to Instagram and stuff. So I feel a little bit like a proud mama at a soccer game. Hold on now, let me take a picture. I don't know if you guys can tell. It's actually more apparent in person, but the washi tape has a really cute design on it, and I'm going to try to remove at least one section of it from one of these little packages so that we can check out this super cute design. Yes. You go there for a second. We're going to admire the stationery. Oh, that's stink. Can y'all, let me open this so that you guys can see. That's stinking cute. There you go. That's pretty cute. Now what I want to know is if she can do this, why can't more of those subscription boxes do this? They can think of it as an investment in their future. Now, what are you? We got sick. What are you? This is a bottle of something. Oh, it's black ink. Okay. Oh, that makes sense. It wouldn't have fit. Did it? I mean, I'm not complaining, but did it say anything about black ink? Now, I'm not going to save the tissue paper, but I will admire how very, very cute it is. Okay. Now, what I'm a little surprised by, what I would have done is I would have put the pencils in the box, but they would have rattled all over the place. So I get it. Plus, it's a chance to show off that cute paper. But here is our Neopico line 3. Our High-Tech C, which is a ballpoint pen. I used to love these. Our two, whew, that almost went flying. Our two synthetic watercolor brushes. And then our Polychromos. Hey Jill, good evening. I know, right? She's definitely got me like inspired and jealous. Joseph is gonna have to like hose me down. Like, girl, you cannot do an art supply box yet. Or can I? All right. Wow. I'm sorry. Almost did the. All right. So I need a new transition. Honk, honk. But what I want to do, I am sorry to disappoint anybody who was hoping I would do a piece of art tonight. I was kind of hoping that she would include like a start to finish project, and then I might have attempted that. And I do actually have an idea that I want to try. But I was also hoping that she would outline some of her techniques and we could do some of those together. But her secrets are safe with her. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to swatch and demonstrate as many of these as I can. Try talking to Smart Art Box. Wow, I did something with Smart Art Box way like in their first month, and we never did anything together again. I mean, I'm not necessarily, so speaking outside of this particular, well, they don't work with me. Sorry, words. So generally when I used to do a lot of the art subscription box unboxes, so I used to do Scrawler Box, I used to do Sketchbox, I used to do Art Snacks, and then sometimes I'd get crazy and try a different one like Smart Art Box, and then there was another one I tried. I wasn't actually looking for a cohesive start to finish project with those. I was just looking at trying out art supplies that I might not have access to, stuff that might be new in the US, or even like, you know, they're testing out a new product and they want to see if there's interest in releasing it in the US. But I bought this box not to be a random assortment of art supplies, because I mean, she says on the website what's in the box. I bought it because I was kind of hoping she would walk us through. When it said pamphlet, I mean, it's a literal pamphlet. I'll give her that. No, there's no lie there. But I was hoping she would explain how she uses some of these materials, or at the very least, you know, like a YouTube link to a private video or something like that, you know, especially because this is a more expensive box. I was hoping some of the cost was coming from gaining access to the knowledge there. And so what I'm seeing is that there might be an opportunity for me to do that, you know, because shoot, I am very used to writing and talking about my my techniques. So that might actually be a great opportunity for me. But I was really hoping that, because there have been some of her techniques that I've seen in time lapse and that I've tried that I couldn't, you know, I couldn't do it. I couldn't figure out what ratio of ink to water she was using. I was having clogging problems. Now, I wasn't using a gouache. I was using a Kuretake water brush. So maybe that's the problem. You know, there's like, okay, so I know most of these, I'll go ahead and open this. I know most of these have a sponge in them. And I think the sponge probably makes working, I was using acrylic, to be fair, because I thought she was using acrylic, because I saw it in a time lapse. Most of these have a sponge up in here, and this thing will clog with pigment. I've tried making my own white brush pins back in the day. I know Kuretake makes one. That thing clogged on me like immediately. And I think if you want to fill a water brush with watercolor or ink or what have you, your best case Ontario is to not use this. me see if I have it handy. My friend Kabocha asked me to do a video on water brushes, and I have all the materials for it, and I just haven't sat down because I want to kind of script parts of it to make sure I hit certain aspects that are really important. Anyway, a lot of fountain pen companies make brush pens that you fill with whatever, and I think that might be my best use case. Oh, she has a YouTube video on how she uses these products. Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate that. So that brings up a different point. It's not mentioned in here, which would be, it might be mentioned on the site, but think about this. If you bought this and then gave it as a gift, they would not have that. Now, I do have her business card, but it also doesn't have her YouTube channel on it. So when I review these kind of boxes, I have to review what I'm given. You know what I mean? I'm not going to necessarily include, so theoretically, if I did a box, not only would I do a zine where I explain how I do all these things, because not everybody learns well from video, I would also make sure I had videos that correspond with different techniques, and I would have all that linked for people who learn in different ways. And it's not linked here. So, you know, shoot, if you've got the link for that, please link it. I would appreciate that. But I got to go with what was in the box, you know. And I'm also going to set aside the packaging for the products as much as possible to help facilitate when I do the price breakdown later. And I'm just going to reiterate, yeah, I feel like I need to point that out because I legit appreciate that she has videos demonstrating that, and I will definitely be hitting those up after. But from a review standpoint, I have to go with what is included because I have to consider if it was being given as a gift or something, or given to someone who has limited internet access, you know. Like where I live, there are areas that the internet kicks out frequently. Like you can't really watch YouTube videos because the internet will kick out on you. And that's with cable internet too, which that's a different kettle of fish. But so that's something I try to keep in mind. Anyway, this is the Masquepen with the nylon nib. I've never tried this, so I'm excited about this. So to use, grasp above the black ring, rotate and pull. Holding lightly by outer edges, keep the Masquepen at a low angle and use as a pen. So on that note, I've actually purchased a ruling pen because I know you can use a ruling pen with masking fluid, and it would be neat to kind of compare. And I've also reviewed a couple of masking fluid pens that, while I love the concept and desperately wish they would work, they always clog up on me. I've done the Pabio one and I've done the Montana one, I want to say, and the Pabio one is slightly better because it has a plastic nib that you can like pick the masking fluid out of. You can refill this. To replace fluid with new reservoir, unscrew the entire top from the Masquepen and screw onto a refill bottle. Or you could probably fill it with the masking fluid of your choice. The Super Nib Plus is a 0.5mm nib for use with the Masquepen or refill. To use, remove top from empty bottle and take Super Nib and cleaning pin from inside. Place Super Nib onto spout. Remove cap from refill, or if using a Masquepen, unscrew entire top, clean and put aside. Then screw the Super Nib Plus onto the bottle of masking fluid. Grasp the bottle lightly by the outer edges and use as a pen. Well, that sounds like it's going to take some getting used to. Clean immediately after use. Fill empty bottle. Do they mean after we've used the entire thing, or do they mean after just one use? Because then they say fill empty bottle with clean water, unscrew the super nib from fluid bottle, immerse in clean water, then grasp clear plastic tube and pull it off. This thing is a system. Wash in clean water, then slap. Okay, I'm going to have to follow the directions as I do the directions because I think that'll make sense. And keep out of sunlight, which makes sense. So it is a lightly tinted masking fluid, which I appreciate. I prefer those. Okay, so we grasp above black ring, rotate, okay, rotate and pull. Oh, okay, friction fit for the win. And that's an O-ring. Oh, Ooh, that's kind of neat. Seriously. Now, to be fair, I do live in the American South. I know that like in San Francisco and in New York, they sometimes get stuff we never get. I haven't seen this in New Orleans, Savannah, or Nashville. So that's cool. I'm excited about that. Put that aside. So we have our standard Pentel Pocket Brush. Actually, I know I have like several of them, and I would prefer to just like give this to someone and just use one of the ones I have open. I even have like 1 million of the refills. Oh wow, it is packed. So unfortunately, I am going to use this one. I'm sure I could still give it to someone and they would still be happy with it. I mean, it's a free brush pen. So I'm a big fan of Alexandria Ryan's. She does like all of the like makeup unboxings. And she just has like a really sweet personality. And, you know, her talking about not wanting to use makeup that she's not going to, like, not wanting to swatch makeup that she knows she's not going to use. She'd rather just give it to someone who will use it. I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of waste. So that's what I was kind of trying to go with. But, you know, this isn't makeup. It's not going on my face. It's not as nice as getting it in the package, but. And I know these are like $11. They might even be cheaper at this point because they are pretty ubiquitous. So something cool about these is that you can actually eyedrop convert these. So if you put an O-ring up here and you clean it out good, you can fill this entire reservoir with any water-based, like dye-based ink that you want to. So you could use fountain pen ink in these. I've done that plenty of times. You can probably do, in fact, I've done it with the Sailor Storia pigment inks. My only problem with that is really, ideally, you want to put another O-ring up here so that you get a more airtight seal. You can also, before you use it or after you've cleaned it out all the way, you can also, to an extent, use fountain pen cartridges in here. It's one of those you got to try it out and see for yourself kind of things. I'm not a big cartridge person, so I don't have any of those. And I used to painstakingly refill these. So you just pop it on. It does take some force because there's like a little plastic ball in there. So you want to pop it until you hear it click. Molotow twin pump marker. Okay. I haven't tried the twin, I think. I just tried their single-sided one that has the fiber nibs for it. And I liked it, but it like died on me so quick. All right, so I'm going to store this vertically with the brush side. Oh, y'all, how dumb am I? This has been sitting on my side table. It was like right in view. This is what I was talking about earlier with instead of using a water brush, this is the system I think might work best. There is a fin system in here that you do need to clean out, but I think the sponge system that a lot of water brushes uses, it tends to clog up very quickly with pigments. But that's just in my experience. That's why I can't do masking fluid in water brushes. Never had any luck with that. Never had any luck with like colored inks in water brushes. But it's definitely a your mileage may vary sort of situation. Put you over there. Could use silicone grease. Yes, that is true. Except, so I actually have a video where I converted one of these to an eyedropper conversion, and I think I used silicone grease on the threads. You want to do that because a lot of fountain pen inks are, I forget what the word actually is, but it's basically wetter than water. And the ink will seep out of your pen if you don't have some sort of block. So hydrophilic means you absorb atmospheric water. Like honey is hydrophilic. I mean, they might use hydrophilic for that as well, but I know what's his name pins talks about it a lot. Oh, he's got a YouTube channel. I'm so sorry. So many names. My brain just can't keep up. Anyway, what I would recommend is silicone grease and then an O-ring and then wipe that off real good. But for me, anything that can get on my hands that's like nasty and gonna leave a mark is gonna get on my hands. Comes from, I guess, having been an ADHD kid and like getting into stuff I shouldn't have gotten into. So just plain Jane, no decoration, MT masking washi tape is not really that common in the US. You can, I mean, in other countries you can get it really easily, but usually stationery stores here only want to sell the fancy dancy stuff and then they want to sell it really expensive. So this, it's very, very thin and low tack, which is good. It is less likely to tear. But when I'm stretching watercolor, you guys know I use the big chunker. Can you imagine getting this in a box from me? Like, Becca's art supply box. And it's like a big chunk. I'll look it up, Cindy, because I am definitely, did you fill it yourself? Like, because I know they sell empties. Molotow sells empties. And, I mean, I could do that. I don't have a problem with that. Or did you buy one already with their masking fluid? Because I don't mind their masking fluid. It's not bad. Everybody swears by Schminckel masking fluid, and it is one of the worst masking fluids I've ever had experience with. All right, you go into my drawer of holding. Don't know why. No smell. This isn't Zen Pop. It's not gonna smell like, it looks like it should smell like Mountain Dew. Like, y'all can't see it because my camera is doing it no justice, but this is like fluorescent Mountain Dew yellow glow in the dark. And then our Tombow mono eraser. Another thing I do want to point out is that I do realize that this box might be going out to people who would not otherwise have any access to these art supplies. I do know Heikala has changed her shipping policies due to shipping issues. So if you want to buy this box, you definitely need to be aware that there is no guarantee that it'll ship to you. But I am aware that, you know, some of the customer base for this would be people who would not necessarily have access to these art supplies. So I also want to point out, okay, the empty one. Yes. What'd you fill it with? What works with it? It does. It looks like food. So for these, I know they already have some sizing in them. So I'm going to, when I take a break in a couple of minutes, I'm going to wash the sizing out in a sink. As I said earlier, these are kind of neat and they have a lot of different uses. Apparently she uses them to scrape off the masking fluid, which I have never tried. I use a masking fluid eraser, which is another thing that would end up in the back box, along with a man, I need to I hope you're taking notes, Joseph Coco. Dang it. You said nope. I'm getting all these ideas for what I would do in my box. Because like every artist secretly thinks their supplies are like, yeah, this is where it's at, y'all. Anyway, I didn't know she uses this to remove her masking fluid. In videos I've seen her use her fingers sometimes, and I have never had any luck with that because I have super dry hands. So I'm gonna try it because I'm down for some new techniques. Okay, so we have a Neopico line 3. If you're duping this at home, and that is not my intention, but I do know some people are going to see this and not have the funds, and they do want to try some of these. So Neopico is a pigment base. This one, the line 3. So they use numbers to designate the properties of their different inks, and their bottled inks go up to 5 or 6, I think. And I hope that this designation is the same between their pens and their bottled inks, because that would actually make coordinating things very easy. But this is their pigment ink, so it's going to be waterproof. Theoretically, it would be alcohol marker proof once it's had a chance to dry as well. If you want a cheaper, you can order from the Deleter website if you want this specifically. They ship to the US. I know not everyone lives in the US, but I don't know where else they ship. other than like Japan. I know Sakura microns are not bad at all. I use them a lot. They're not bad at all. Copic multiliners are fine, but they're expensive. And you can't find them at as many places as the multiliners. And then we have a high-tech C, and I will go ahead and say this now because it is going to come up when we're doing the prices. I am not getting any prices from jet pens. I don't care for jet pens and I don't give them my business, so I'm not going to link them. I will link from other sources, but I'll just throw this out there because I love y'all. I know a lot of these you could get from jet pens. Doesn't mean they're always the best price, but there you go. And then I thought using Polychromos for underdrawing was a very interesting choice. They're probably cheaper in Finland. In the US, they're kind of expensive, but they're very nice pencils and they're very buttery and I love them very much. They're just like $3 a pencil. And then we have our beautiful block of St. Cuthbert's Mill Saunders watercolor paper. So this is a cotton rag watercolor paper that I found has a lot of sizing to it. So it might take those inks really well. So let's go ahead and remove that first protective sheet. Look, y'all, I finally stopped using an X-Acto blade. This is so much easier. Using a palette knife is so much easier. I don't know why I was so dumb about it. No, I don't know why. The friend who taught me how to watercolor to begin, aw, it's already got some schmutz on it. How did that happen? Not really a big deal because I'm mostly just going to be like swatching all this stuff on it today. And there's our interior sheet. It's exquisite English watercolor paper, traditionally made on a cylinder mold machine. This is the superior quality watercolor paper made by St. Cuthbert's Mill and comes with the Royal Watercolor Society's endorsement. Made using 100% cotton, the highest quality print papermaking material to high archival standards. Each sheet is buffered with calcium carbonate to help defend finished pieces of work from discoloration caused by acids present in pollution. And then finally, we get our pretty normal deleter sketchbook. Actually, to be fair, the Mariman one, which was a whopping $5 back when I went to Japan a couple years ago, oh gosh, more like 3 years ago now. This one has a heavier chipboard cover. So if you're a travel kind of person, that could be, or you just always have to work on the go, like you're working on the train and stuff, that might be a better option for you because this is not bad. It's a sketchbook. It's not bad, but it is a lighter chipboard cover that maybe can't take as much wear and tear. It's a little, like if you were drawing on your lap, it's going to bend. So these are the same size. That's kind of neat. All right. I am going to take a 5-minute bathroom break. I'm going to tap Joseph to do our commercial talking about 7-inch Caraday, and Lilliput, he says no, he's not going to do that. Dang it. He does it so his pitch is better than mine because it's not his child. Oh, I drank all my water. It means it's good for a good break time. So, okay, I'll do it real quick, and then I'll go ahead and hit the bathroom. And then I'll return, and we'll demonstrate these. And then I'll take a break, and then I'll return, and we'll talk about prices. I think that sounds fair. What am I doing? Okay, so July 1st is 7-inch Caraday. And that is a Thursday, so it's not our normal streaming day. So we're not doing a normal stream. We're going to use AI Dungeon, which basically uses algorithms to compute common scenarios used in role-playing games, tabletop games, Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of thing, in order to create scenarios for you on the go, on the fly, like that. And when we were laying out volume 2 of 7-inch Cara, Joseph was playing around with it a little bit, and it was a lot of fun. It did a really good job considering. So he spent a boatload of time putting in prompts from Lilliputian Living, correcting character bios, writing environments to try and flesh out AI Dungeon into a Lilliputian roleplay experience. So on next Thursday, we're actually going to try and play a campaign together with you guys. So if you guys enjoy storytelling, if you guys like world building, and if you like tiny people, I think you guys are going to find next Thursday a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. The stream starts at 8 p.m. CST, so bring your funniest and your silliest ideas, because we are here to role play tiny people. And I fully intend to sketch the funny, the interesting, any scenarios that I'm like, ooh, I kind of like that. I'm going to do a little doodle while we go. Do not expect high things, okay? My normal doodles are very stick figure-y, but that's okay. We're here to have fun, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Are you planning on having people vote on the prompts before the stream or during the stream?
I want them to vote during the stream. I want their input. I'm going to ask them.
No. I'm not talking about voting about what's happening. Like,
do we have several prompts?
Yeah, I wrote up like 10.
Would you guys prefer to vote for your scenario, your preferred scenario, before we start the stream, or do you guys want to do it on the? I think on the fly is more fair, because that way the people who actually show up and hang out with us get the most say. Because I've noticed people request a lot of stuff and then they don't show up. So I want to reward the people who actually are hanging out with us that evening. So I think we're going to do it on the fly. And if you guys are new here, hi, welcome. I'm Becca. I am a watercolor comic artist. So that's why I feel like I could take a look at this box. I have learned and honed my watercolor skills painting hundreds of comic pages while working on 7-inch Cara. So some of these pages are some of my older work, so you guys can really see a lot of growth and a lot of learning taking place over the years. And I've also shared a lot of my how-tos and experiences here on YouTube as walkthrough tutorials. So if you're interested in painting your own comics, I've got you covered. I hope you guys will check those playlists out. And then 2020, I keep wanting to say this year, but I know technically it is this year, but not this year because we're in 2021, so it kind of depends on how you define a year. Anyway, we recently published volume 2, thanks to Kickstarter and all of y'all's support. So people should have their books. I'm still working on the other rewards, but it looks gorgeous. The colors are so good, and I was able to feature some of the artists that I've commissioned over the years, which was really exciting as well, with their permission, of course. So, you know, this is where a lot of my watercolor takes place, and this is also where I'm coming from as a watercolor artist. I'm a comic artist, so I'm painting lots of pages, I'm painting lots of people, and I need color consistency between scenes. So this is kind of where my heart is. So if you guys enjoy this channel, if you guys enjoy my art and you would like your own copy of 7-inch Cara, you're a dead tree kind of person like me, you guys can order it through the Natto shop, or of course you can read it for free at 7inchcara.com. And if you do read it, it would really mean a lot to me if you reached out to me and you let me know what you thought. And it would mean a lot to me also if you took a moment, if you really liked it, if you enjoyed it, if you took a moment and you left a review on Amazon or on Goodreads. That is such a big help. Positive word of mouth is so huge for small businesses and for independent artists, as I'm sure many of you guys know. And that's just something I cannot do for myself. You know what I mean? That would just be immoral. So if you enjoy my work and you enjoyed my comic, even if you only read it as a webcomic, it would still be huge if you took a moment and left a review. Ooh, bathroom time, bathroom time. All right, so on that note, I'll BRB. talked about this a few times over the years. Like, it just seems like a fun thing to do. So, one of the things that I do when I have a break is I have myself a Kit Kat. Actually, these are green tea Kit Kat. So not only am I having sugar, I'm having a little bit of caffeine. And hopefully that actually helps me, you know, keep powering through and keep going. That said, I'm a goofer and I meant to grab a ceramic palette and a cup of water. So I'll just have to BRB real quick. I also totally get why she didn't include a ceramic palette, because those are prone to breaking and they're heavy and they take extra wrapping. So yeah, I get that. Okay, want to get everything kind of organized before we start, guys. Because with these, so Pentel makes a lot of pigment brush pens. I happen to love the larger two. I love them so much. They're in my kit for classes and not with me right this moment. But usually they have the squeezy body types like the Pentel dye-based brush pens, but these don't. So using gravity to help you out isn't a bad idea. Oh, hey, Kelly. Long time no see. Ooh, yeah. I bet what's actually sake Kit Kats are also really good. Okay, so collecting my thoughts. I guess I will, because what I want to do is just kind of demonstrate everything for y'all and for myself, you know, play around with the materials a little bit. So I guess I'll start with the regular old sketchbook. And what I want to do is I also want to demonstrate some of the masking techniques, and masking fluid takes a little minute to dry. So I will, gotta read the instructions. Move the top from the bottle so it has like a little piercer needle. And there is something just charmingly DIY about this thing. Remove cap, boop, 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 boop. And take the super nib and cleaning pin from inside. Okay. Oh, bless you. Whoa, okay. Okay, I am too squeezy. So I'm trying to go with the orientation. Maybe I need to do it like this. No, that doesn't work. See, this is why I'm playing with it first. Gotta hold it super lightly because I wasn't applying any pressure. But it does give nice fine lines and bubbles. Really. Okay, I think I got the hang of it finally after burping it. So definitely a deposit of masking fluid. If you draw teeny tiny, not going to give you the super fine wispy lines you might want if you were doing hair strands. Let me set that aside. And I'll do the same thing over here. Really? What is going on here? Why do we have a vacuum? And now you're refusing to there. Wait. Did it leave? Oh, it left dried masking. Oh, I see. I understand now. I don't know if you guys can ever hear barking dogs in the background of my videos. I don't know what my lavalier mic can pick up until I'm like editing the video, but that is my landlady's dogs. and they're okay. She adopted one who had been abused, and she's just in need of a little extra love. She loves to bark at everything. So if you ever hear dogs barking, we don't have a dog. It is my landlady's dog. I might as well set this up. So the way she's using this is to get nice clean lines, like a border. I get that. But if I apply it wrong, I'm not going to get that. Now, one thing I didn't notice that she'd mentioned, at least in the pamphlet, is that one of the pros of working on a watercolor block like this is you don't actually have to secure your paper. It's already secured. It's not going to go anywhere. So it's not going to buckle. It's not going to shift. And what I'm looking to get is like that crisp corner edge, you know? And this is kind of what I used to do when I lived near art friends, when I lived in Savannah, is we would like bring a bunch of supplies. We'd sit down, we'd eat snacks, we might watch like anime or a movie or something on TV. It was just on in the background. And we would just like noodle around and experiment with everybody else's art supplies. Now, what was nice about that is A, you get to try stuff out without having to pay for it. So that way you figure out if you like it. And B, you have the person who knows how to use those supplies there to explain it. And that is why if there was ever a half decent art supply MLM, regardless of how I feel about MLMs, I would probably be very susceptible to something like that. So it's a good thing that doesn't exist, because I really love getting to play with new toys and getting to share my new toys with friends and getting to tell them what's exciting about what we're playing with, you know? Why is it cool? Why is it good? And my current method of doing that does not necessarily pay the bills. Okay, so what I am very curious about is this 4-color eraser erasing these, but not only that, like I told you guys, I am an Color stan, so I want to try. Why are all my normal drawing supplies in the other room? I mean, I know why, but so I want to try. I'm shaking my pink lead. I want to try some of the colored leads that I use all the time, and also I use these for sketching with zero intention of erasing them. So I figure if it can erase the stuff that I use all the time, I'm sold. Now, I have found that a regular white vinyl eraser doesn't have too much trouble with the color All right, so we're starting with what was included in the set. So these are the Polychromos. I'm going to do some light, going to do some heavier. I mean, generally, if I'm sketching for an underdrawing, I'm trying to keep it light, and then I refine my details. Oh, these are so buttery. In a good way. That's like, oh, this is wonderful. So this is just a cheap Blick Studio terracotta colored pencil. I like using these for doodling and sketching. It would be interesting to see if that would be erasable. That thing does not back advance. So this has red color lead in it, I think. This has dark blue. And this has light blue. And I've taken to using mostly the pink, which is not shown here, because it basically blends in with my watercolor and it blends in with my alcohol marker. So it's cool to hear that another artist is using a similar technique. This almost feels like sacrilege because I'm so used to either doing graphite transfers or doing printing it on cotton rag watercolor paper. I don't normally draw directly on cotton rag watercolor paper anymore. Just because I'm like out of practice, I've gotten very used to having a few digital steps in there to kind of help me resize heads. All right, so we're gonna try our 4 color. Yeah, all right. Not as spiffy if you're a little heavier handed, which is understandable. I'm heavier handed, so I always have to test for that, you know. Gotta represent. The Blick wants to smear a little bit more. Oh, wrong spot. And heavier handed, it's not gonna do as great a job. You also want to clean the eraser because I'm noticing I'm getting some color transference, and that's not great either. You don't want to erase only to smear the last color. It does seem to smear the color Eno quite a bit. And I know that Mitsubishi makes erasable color pencils, and I'm looking at them right now. And a friend sent them to me for my birthday one year, and I've hoarded them ever since. And I need to use them. I need to do a video with them or something. We need to see them. I have no idea if they're even any good. So I'm just gonna clean my eraser off on my jeans because that's what you do. It worked okay. I didn't think you could erase Polychromos, so color me surprised. And that was on the Saunders. I mean, I learned something new, and that's cool. Does better on the sketchbook paper. I'll give it that. And I think it's because with cotton rag watercolor paper, it just really gets in there. So another thing, when you're heavy-handed and you're really bearing down on the paper, and that's me, I'm guilty, you're compressing the paper fibers, so pigment is getting, or graphite is getting kind of trapped in there. Or if you're really heavy-handed and you're using a mechanical pencil, you're actually slicing the paper surface and the particles are getting in there. And the eraser really, even if you're bearing down and I'm bearing down, it really just wants to hit the surface of the paper. It doesn't want to get into all the nooks and crannies and valleys. So working lighter, so usually when I'm sketching with a color pencil, I don't hold it like, you know, when I'm sketching with a watercolor, Becca, when you're sketching with a mechanical, ding ding, a mechanical pencil, I don't hold it like I would if I were writing a letter. I try to hold it more obliquely. And the Pentel Icy has a triangular, not Pentel Icy. Dang it. I reviewed it. What's its name? It's in the other room. I'm sorry. Anyway, Pentel makes a triangular, it might be the Presto. Pentel makes a triangular mechanical pencil that is really good for that kind of side sketching. But I'm very heavy-handed, so it's one of those things that I have to like stop and catch myself with. So it does actually erase better on the not as toothy, more compressed cellulose paper than it does on the more expensive Saunders paper. So that's cool to know. I learned a thing, and I will probably be using this thing. It's going to end up in my pencil case, and then I'll be one of those things where I'm like, why do I have this? All right, so I have used a mono before. They're great white vinyl erasers. I recommend white vinyl erasers anyway, especially if you're using like pink pearl erasers. Those things tear up the paper. Don't hurt yourself. You know, don't do that to yourself. You deserve better. And Pentel makes high polymer white vinyl erasers that you can get at like Walmart, you know? So I would recommend, if you're a traditional media kind of person, or if you just like sketching using traditional media, at least get a white vinyl eraser. Some people swear by gum erasers. You know, it's one of those things where it just doesn't really work for me. So, you know, that's why we really celebrate having different working methods. So, just gonna demonstrate this here. She did not say that it would erase the color pencil, but frankly, it's doing about as good a job as the super delicious looking candy eraser. So I don't know. It's, to me, they're equal. They both did a good job on the sketchbook paper. We'll try it on the Saunders. I mean, you know, sometimes when you're an artist, you get so used to using certain things for certain techniques that you might have two supplies that do the exact same thing, but you use them for different things, and you never think I could just have one of these. So I'm not blaming this. This is not like, why are you using this? It's just like, huh. yeah, to me, they're doing the exact same amount of good job. And they're both doing a good job. You know, neither of them is terrible. I probably like the mono a bit better, mostly because it's a little easier to find. Super dirty fast. Yeah. And basically what you do, what I do, you can be dirty like me, is I like scrub it on my jeans and it cleans it off. Yeah. Getting real. But I don't care. That is one thing I will say, though. I don't put my art supplies in my mouth. I mean, I do in that I hold brushes with my mouth. But, like, you know how some people will get a point using their mouth? I don't do that. So that's, like, the only instance where I'm not doing that. Okay, sure. I'll put these away because these were mine. And I just wanted to see if it would work. So another thing I wanted to kind of, I just thought this was like interesting. This is not a value judgment in any way, shape, or form. So I noticed that the Holbein watercolor brushes have really short bristles for a round, like really short. And the thing is, the longer your brush is, often the more control and nuance you have. I think Mind of Watercolor has talked about using like liner brushes and how a good liner brush is actually incredibly, I don't want to say easy necessarily, but fluid to use, especially when you get used to it. Whereas with stubbier brushes like this, it's trying to think of a good analogy, but it's just a little more challenging. They're not going to hold as much water. You're not going to get as long as line. You're not going to get as much nuance. Okay, so here are a couple. They're not the same size, so this is not a 1-to-1. Think of this in proportion. All right. Actually, what are you? This is an 8. Okay. Anyway, these are a couple of Western synthetics. I just grabbed them out of my paint cup because I was just like, oh, those are kind of short. These are much, much longer. And I'm not a big synthetic person because they don't hold water the same way a mixed brush or a natural hair brush will hold water. Do I have anything good? Not in here. Why is it always in the bathroom being washed? Anyway, I just thought it was kind of interesting. I mean, Holbein is a good company. They make good art supplies. I don't think these are cheap. I just think that it's interesting that they're really short for watercolor brushes. These are called Resable. I think I have some of the Pentel Neo Sable, which is, I mean, honestly, these are all orange Takalon, you know. That's why I also don't necessarily believe in paying a whole lot for synthetic brushes because most of them are made from the same thing. So you don't want to go too cheap because you want to make sure your brush is well shaped. You don't want to go too expensive either because it's synthetic, you know. Anyway, even the Pentel Neo Sable brushes, they're like sumi brushes with synthetic hair. They're much longer. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. So one of the great things about the High-Tech C is that when you let it fully dry, first off, one of the great things about the High-Tech C is it comes in a boatload of fun colors. Like, okay, black, not exciting, but it comes in all of these really pretty colors that are packed away right now. But, so you don't have to use just black for this. Another thing is when it's fully dry, you can use alcohol markers on top of it. I used to use this in my sketchbook with alcohol markers all the time. And it's not gonna, well, they may have changed the formula, but from my experience, it's not going to smear. So it can be a great way to do color sketches in your sketchbook. If, you know, but then I realized you could use colored leads like Color Eno and then mark over that and then ink over that. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that instead. But they're a good writer. I'm generally not a ballpoint pen person or a gel pen person just because I've had so many of them die on me. I was a tween in the 2000s when the colorful neon gel pens were such a thing, and I spent so much money on those and so many of them died on me. So I think that left some trauma. But I mean, I basically wrote my thesis. I did my thesis notes with one of these. Yeah, it does. So this kind of handle, there are pros to, first of all though, another thing I noticed, this is kind of weird. You see how it just goes into the plastic? I mean, this is a synthetic material handle as well. It's like plastic or something, I don't know. But there's still some ferrule crimping to make sure you can't wiggle it off. Whereas this is just straight up like, just goes right into that plastic, you know? And who makes, I have one that looks a lot like this in the bathroom. It's like a flat. Who made that? Maybe Blick? Yeah, but yeah, this is not like an uncommon look. Not so popular in the US, but not uncommon either. But yeah, it has this kind of slanted, actually silver black velvet. Some of their flats have the plastic handle as well. And to be fair, as someone who has cracked many a lacquer on a wood handle brush, yeah, you can ruin your handles. But I have found that if you have a system to hang them so that the point is down, the water doesn't get sucked into the wooden ferrule or into the wooden handle. It just leaves the tip and evaporates out. So, you know, pros and cons to everything. It kind of depends on your preferred method. Now, she was also saying this is a pigment-based brush pen. Pentel makes a few of them. I didn't realize, I just wasn't thinking. I didn't realize it uses the same ink as the Pentel bigger brush pens. I used to refill these with platinum carbon black ink for a while. That worked fine. That is also a pigment-based black ink that's going to be waterproof after it's finished drying. My concern, with this is you get a lot of dry brush, and dry brush is wonderful, but you can't control the amount of dry brush you have. If you have hot hands, it'll just kind of splurt all your ink out on the paper. But you can't like squeeze it to do ink control or to get more ink. Like if you wanted to do a black fill in an area and you wanted a really solid black fill, I wouldn't recommend this one. I would recommend the gray barreled pigment brush pen. But I use those for all of my Lilliputian Living Inktober's. I love those things. Ooh, y'all can't even see. Why did y'all not even fuss at me? But you guys can hopefully see what I mean by the dry brush. And I mean, part of that is the texture of the paper. Part of that is the ink flow. You could go over it and over it and over again and fill it in. What you do get is a smaller brush tip than, I think even the extra fine is this really long brush that is about this diameter, but really long, and you might find you have difficulty controlling that. So I used to use these all the time. I get why people like them, but the dry brushing that you can't always control is a little bit frustrating. But Pentel makes some great stuff, and they do have some other options. And then we have the Line 3. Like I said earlier, it's a pigment-based ink. It's going to be waterproof after it's fully dry. Another thing I don't really get is that, well, I got ink on me. This is a 0.4, this is a 0.3. They're almost the same size. Like, I'm a little surprised she didn't go with like a much smaller one, because these things are available in like the tiniest sizes. Or this in like an 8, you know, just to try and get some more variation in the box. But I mean, if these are the things she uses all the time, then that's what she uses all the time. So I went ahead and I filled the Gouache water brush with water. At some point tonight, I am going to try putting some ink in it. I do wish she'd like talked about maybe how like her water to ink ratio or how many drops of ink she puts into a full, but whatever, any help with that would have been great, because I have killed these things before. Or even like care instructions, like don't leave it in overnight, you'll kill it. So, womp. Now I have a ceramic palette here, and it is the perfect size. It is 7 wells. It's gonna work so good for this. I'm kind of excited about that. And then these have an eyedropper. They also have their, I assume, light fast information. I mean, that's what the stars typically denote, and their transparency. Not all of these have the same light fast, and not all of them have the same transparency, Bomber Bee said earlier that they think these might be India ink, or that these are India ink. Probably. Their bottles usually say acrylic when it's acrylic. So, and this is Rohrer Klingner, and they make fountain pen inks as well. They make the Iron Gall inks, and oh my gosh, oh, I almost had the name and then I lost it again. Who is that pin guy on YouTube? He has a company I bought from him. Gouache, thank you. Yeah, he does samples. I mean, you pay for them, but it's a good way to figure out if a fountain pen color is right for you, or a fountain pen brand is right for you, or not brand, but the ink, or oh yeah, that changed color a lot. I'm glad I shook it. Or, you know, like for me, I was buying the samples so that I could test out the properties of different inks to, you know, see if they were actually waterproof. And that was a great way to be able to test to see if something was right for me without committing to an entire bottle. Another thing with these is that I find it helpful to squeeze, like pump the eyedropper repeatedly, because sometimes with pigmented inks that sediment out, and I'm probably putting way too much in here. Any of you who have ever watched any of my like liquid watercolor videos know that I am not normally a liquid watercolor. It's something I kind of struggle with. So if these are India ink, that would also mean that if they dry out on these ceramic palettes, you probably are not going to be able to reconstitute it. And it would not be unusual to watercolor with India ink. Derwent Inktense pencils are India ink. Their Inktense half pans are in India ink. Faber Castell's Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils and watercolor markers are India ink. This is orange. Well, I should, Smart Back would have done a color wheel, like a proper color wheel, but this'll work. Oh, hey, Shadow, good evening. So I find with art supplies, one of the best ways to get good at them is to just like play around with them and experiment with them, even like what we're doing here. Something else that's kind of neat, these bottles are brown bottles. They don't really reflect the color inside, which is fine. They're going to protect the watercolors or the India ink or whatever is inside these bottles from sunlight. So that helps protect the light fastness, which so something, and this is this is just me. Another kind of quibble is that there isn't like a larger watercolor brush, like a mop or a flat or anything that's meant to cover a wide area. And using a 4 like this to cover a large area, you're going to end up with something that looks really patchy and streaky, because whatever you're putting down on the paper, whether it's watercolor or dye, it's going to dry as you're putting it down because you're using such a small brush to cover a large area. And I don't think this is meant to be an all-inclusive. So is that India paint? We think it is. The bottles are in German, and I don't read German. There is a little English. It says, pigmented drawing and calligraphy ink, resistant to erasing and waterproof. So it could be India ink. So this is where our resist was put down. This is, or I'm sorry, our masking fluid, and then this is where the washi tape was put down. So I'm just creating a thirsty brush. Those are a little more receptive. And I'm going to avoid all that up there because it probably hasn't. Yeah, these look like India inks. Because, well, you may find this to be a pro. It really kind of depends on your painting personality. I don't care for India inks myself because I find they tend to deliver very flat color. There's not a lot of granulation. So these could be great for people who want a more matte or a more uniform look to their watercolor art. Now you can get gradation where you get deeper colors and then you get lighter colors, but the pigment size is all about the same particle size, so you're not going to get a lot of granulation with these. I'm going to try to encourage, so you can see here on the cellulose paper, it's already dry, which is impressive because it's Louisiana in hurricane season. I thought we'd be here all night like so many of my watercolor streams. And on the cotton rag paper, given the nature of cotton rag, where the color and the water is going to soak into the fibers of the paper itself rather than sitting on the surface, it's going to stay open longer. You're going to get more wet into wet blending with that. The paint shouldn't dry shiny. Now, some India inks do have shellac added to them. I think many of them do, and that can give it a shiny appearance. These did not say anything about shellac that I noticed, but I might have missed, or, you know, maybe it's a common attribute of these where they are more common, kind of like with Copic markers don't necessarily, I don't know if they necessarily advertise that they're alcohol markers, although a lot of the companies here in the US do advertise that Copics are alcohol. Now, one of the nice things about India ink is it tends to be more light fast than not every, but many traditional watercolors. It just tends to have better light resiliency. So if you want to paint something and then display it in like a very bright sunny room, India ink could be a great way to do that, a great tool for that. It also has very uniform color, which some people really like. And you're also going to get, at least with this set for sure, you're going to get some really bright saturated color. So I guess I'll have to head over to Heikala's YouTube channel maybe tomorrow, since it's getting kind of late here, you know, off stream, and see how she's handling these paints and how she's handling her palette and stuff. I do wish that info had been included in the pamphlet, because even though I use watercolor all the time, this is a different watercolor method for me, and some of the people buying this box might not ever use, they might be totally new to watercolor, so it would be really helpful for a little bit more instruction. So far, the brush is okay. I find it a little scrubby because it is such a short bristled brush, but that also could just be the fact that I use different brushes when I'm painting, so it could just be like a what I'm used to and not actually scrubby. Now, something I've noticed online is that some very, very talented, very skilled artists use these teeny tiny watercolor brushes to cover these really large areas. And that's not such a, if you're replicating that at home and you find that you're struggling and you're like, why does my stuff look muddy and scrubby? Really, you should try to use the largest brush you're comfortable handling. We can mix color. We should be able to blend and mix colors. My water is gross, but so this is a Teflon coating on my table, so I can do some color mixing on it. I don't have a lot of room in my palette here because I have a sample of each color. Working with a butcher's tray, which is like a metal enamel coated tray for color mixing. Let me grab some of that blue. So she included cyan blue, so that should work well. So that's going to give us kind of a nice purple color. If I apparently need to mix more magenta in there, not really a big deal. They do make some nice wet into wet blends, though. I'll give them that. So yeah, you can definitely blend them. I think another nice thing about India inks, at least from my experience, is that you can do color mixing and the color retains kind of its vibrancy. Sorry. So that is orange and yellow, which is going to give us a lighter orange color. It's interesting that we didn't get a red. It's not a complaint because I get where she's coming from. It's also kind of interesting that we don't actually get a warm blue. But since you asked about mixing colors, let me try that. Because I am all for seeing what kind of range I can get. Now, another really nice thing about India ink is once this first layer dries, theoretically, we could put anything on top of it and that first layer shouldn't really be going anywhere. So I wanted to try to mix, let me see if I can get more of like a quote unquote true blue or a warmer blue using a little bit of violet and a lot of cyan. Really, for something like this, I would love to have a big round ceramic palette with loads of wells so that I can mix all the intermediate colors. All right, so that's a little bit warmer. Certainly darker than the cyan we had. That's with a little, oh, okay, yeah. So we actually can mix, it looks like, a really nice warm blue. And theoretically, we can get a pretty decent red mixing. And to be fair, she did include color mixing instructions on the back of the pamphlet. So we should be able to get a decent red mixing orange and magenta. Yes. Okay. So if I was working with a larger palette, I could probably get some really nice granular color mixes. This is one of the reasons I kind of struggle with using liquid watercolors, is just space management, you know what I mean? Like I tend to run out of space in my palette. So these are her instructions for mixing color. And it would be blendable with water until dry. And then once it's finished drying, you're not going to, once it's fully dry, you're not going to be able to reactivate it. You're not going to be able to lift it up. You're not, I mean, you could really scrub at it, but you're not, it's not going to go anywhere. And then I think the black was, I mean, it's always, especially with a set like this, it is nice to have a black. You're going to be able to mix some colors, get a little bit darker than you would just mixing the two colors.
Cindy copied you.
Oh, thank you. It's very generous of you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm entering pumpkin zone. So I apologize. Oh, ask me some questions about the watercolors. So like, because I feel like I've covered most of the basics. It seems like we can mix colors. I'll go ahead and mix a teal, and mixing a brown would be good too.
What kind of watercolor style does the person whose box this is normally do?
Let me show you guys. I love it. So please do not take how I describe it as like a judgment call. It is a very simple but evocative style, anime inspired somewhat. What I really like about it is something I struggle with my own work. Her work is very simple, straightforward. While it seems thought out, it doesn't seem overworked. And that's stuff I struggle with my stuff. So I really admire how well done it is in her style. She does do watercolor. She tends to keep it more simple, which I think makes it more powerful in a lot of ways. And yes, I will show you guys, and then I'll take a bit of a break, and then we'll try mixing some of the Nicker color in, because she mentions mixing the India inks with the Nicker to get like a pastel opaque color.
Do you see that Shadow Peter asked if you know anyone going to the comic convention?
I think that was just a general question. I know a couple of my friends in Ohio are like either in the middle of shows because it was Friday, so their show already started, or maybe they have one coming up. What am I doing? I want to look at, yeah. Thank you. But let me go to her Instagram instead. So you can see what I mean. Like there's a lot of, dang, I also want to know with these colors, how are you getting a lot of color mixing is the answer, but there's like a lot of color depth and a lot of lushness to the color.
I mean, that's got a lot of detail. That image.
It does, yeah. The faces are usually like more like this, where they're kept very light. And I really like that because there's a lot of, or like this piece here, where it's very simple, but it's very powerful. You really pay attention to the colors that are being used. But yeah, there is a lot of detail, especially in the backgrounds. Her backgrounds are gorgeous, but you see, she doesn't, I tend to over-render everything in a bad way. Yes, she's leaving a lot of the white of the paper to kind of showcase what's going on. I think this is one of the instances where she's using, oh, that's a Kuretake white brush pen. How? Mine died within 5 minutes of me using it. I see here she's using the back of her brush to lift up the masking fluid. I didn't realize she draws a bunch of tiny people too. So I'm sure you guys can see why I like her art a lot.
A lot of cute girls.
A lot of cute girls, a lot of witches, a lot of tiny people, a lot of cats, a lot of watercolor. Something I've noticed is that the expressions are generally very neutral, whereas I like drawing really, usually I like drawing really happy, expressive faces, but
a lot of her stuff uses a limited color.
Yeah,
palette, it seems like.
yeah. Anyway, her art's really beautiful, so you can kind of see why I wanted to, because I was really hoping there would be longer explanations either in written form, because frankly, like, while I can learn from video tutorials, I actually kind of struggle to learn from video tutorials. I do better with step-by-step instructions, just the way my brain works. I actually do better reading instructions than I do listening to some, because I tend to zone out. It's the ADHD. I know, I'm talking to Joseph, he's right here. So I was really hoping there would be more written instructions because my learning style really lends itself to that. And also as a reviewer reviewing kit boxes, I do want to see something that enables the person receiving the box to be able to replicate a few of the techniques. I mean, that's part of the charm of buying the box, is the ability.
Though, right? It's not even advertised.
Oh, no, it's not really advertised as a kit. I'll be fair. It's advertised as an art supply box. So this is the listing. I'm just wang about, I guess, you know, because she has a lot of really neat techniques, and I was just hoping I could like work through the booklet and be able to replicate a few of them. No, I don't want to. Well, I would like, I mean, as artists, we learn from each other, and I paid the good money, so I'm not stealing. Not even that I think if you put it online and someone learns from it, it's not stealing. Every artist, unless they grew up by themselves in a cave with no human interaction, no TV, no books, no nothing, has learned from other artists even by looking at what they do, which is why I don't like the term self-taught artist. I like self-directed or self-driven or self-motivated. But anyway, so you guys probably get an idea why I really like her art. I'm going to give these a chance to dry. You do get some really beautiful techniques. I'm going to have to, like, the other thing is, now I figure I'm going to have to, like, have her YouTube channel up and, like, painstakingly try to replicate what she's doing. And while there's nothing wrong with that, like, that's why I did the blog for as long as I did it. Because I know there are people who don't learn well from just video.
You can play at different speeds.
Yeah, I understand that. I was just hoping she would have talked about her process and how she uses these materials more. But one of the people in the chat did say she has a video where she does that. But on that note, I wish she would have linked that anywhere. I mean, she doesn't even, on all of this, there isn't even a YouTube. So it's kind of, I feel like a bit of a missed opportunity there. I think she's assuming anybody who's buying the box is familiar with her work. You know, I probably didn't, but it was a little bit challenging to control how much was coming out of the dropper at the time. So yeah, in the future, I probably don't need to pour out as much as I did. But you know, it's a live and learn kind of situation. I hope your dad has a great time. I assume he's there to sell. He's there to work. I hope he has a great Saturday with loads of sales. Tell him best of luck. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of a bathroom break. And that'll give some of these a bit of a chance to dry. And then when I come back, we'll take a look at the oh no, there's two things I haven't yet experimented with. So then we'll take a look at those. Yes, I'm gonna put up the AFK because I'll be away from the keyboard. Ah, water's so good. Hope y'all took a moment to stretch, get some water, go to the bathroom, you know, all those important non-robot things, unless you're a robot. And then I hope you got some oil, maybe chewed some nuts and bolts. So this is the only thing other than, I mean, these are, so get back to that in a second. All right, so these are the Holbein watercolor brushes, right? All right, this is a Princeton, old Princeton fake watercolor, synthetic, sorry, watercolor brush. Very similar, you know, with the acrylic handle and the tapered edge. It's not an uncommon look. This is one of the silver black velvets that has the, sorry, it's got a brush hanger cap on it. Very similar though, plastic with the tapered edge. And then this is a size 4 silver black velvet. So just, I would say this is pretty standard for a size 4, maybe even a little small. Compare it, oh, this is 0. What am I doing? Sorry. So this is the size 4. This one's actually a lot larger. So unfortunately, watercolor brush sizes are a lot like women's jeans. The size is a suggestion, not really a standardization. So it'll be standard within a brand, but not standard across brands. And then this one has a wood handle and normal end to it. Oh, I'm glad. Art organization is hard too. That's something, whether it's art I've made or my art supplies, that's something I really struggle with, is organizing all these little things. So I'm really glad I could help. All right, going back in to Knicker color. Y'all know I'm gonna smell it. You shouldn't, but I'm gonna. It smells like tempered paint. Not great, but not awful either. And there's a fair amount, and I have a feeling I'm gonna end up using this a lot as like a correctional. I used to swear by Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, but that has a tendency to dry in the jar. So I use a lot of gouache. Nothing wrong with gouache. I just like using what I've got, you know, or trying to use it up. So this is just with water. You can thin it out with water to get a more subtle effect. What am I doing? Do it over the resist, and hopefully you guys can see that after we peel that off. This is not a great brush for this. And it's because it's so short and stubby, there's no flex to it, so I can't do curves with it. It just kind of splays out there. Oh, Joseph caught a bug? And then one of the nice things about the India ink is that it's not going anywhere once you put it down, so you can do layers on top of it and do further effects if you want. But one of the things that kind of intrigued me was, and this is not a new concept, but you know, I was like, yeah, you can do that, I forgot, is to use like white gouache or white poster color and mix it in order to get a pastel color. And this is why, to some extent, I don't have much patience for quote unquote pastel watercolors, because all they're doing is they're taking regular pigments, in best case, and then adding a bunch of PW6 in order to get that pastel. So you could just recreate that with a tube of white gouache and your regular watercolors. So this is that kind of ultramarine blue I was going for. Yeah, having both written and visual is great because then I can watch the visual and like not feel like I'm trying to play catch up with it. So this is on the cotton rag paper. It's really nice on the cotton rag paper. So this is my favorite. This might be kind of dorky. This is my favorite use so far. The knicker actually blends a little bit better than white gouache does with other colors. Okay, then with, oh yeah, so we get a teal. So to me, this is kind of fun. This I'd want to play with a lot more. And it's neat because you don't need the whole range. You can just mix it with the India ink colors. I can also just use a lot of water. Okay, so that is mostly true if you're working from the white of the page. But if you want to add an opaque accent, like yellow sunbeams crossing across something and you haven't used a resist in that area, then having some opaqueness to your work can be really helpful. Or maybe you're painting on black watercolor paper. That's gotten pretty popular. They do. I was thinking that too. Like a lot of my this one looks like a fish to me. A lot of my swatches have this like beta fish thing going on. Can't say I hate it. And I really shouldn't be using the cap to mix in a little bit of water. That's not something I'm like endorsing, mostly because then you're just adding water to your paint. I mean, if you really wanted to go hardcore and torture yourself, you don't need to ever buy gouache. You can just buy 1 tube of white gouache or poster paint and then just mix and add your colors. It could be fun a couple times, but it seems like it would get old quick. To be real. I want to try. I'm trying to decide what order of operations I want to do because I'm not trying to pollute my paint. And I have to scrub it really well since I'm using the same brush to dip into both. I want to make sure I'm not introducing color into the white. Because then I'd end up with mud by the time I use the whole thing. So you get a nice, fairly saturated sunshiny yellow. And I mean, you could add more poster paint to get lighter colors if you want. Let's see how they behave over. And then also, I want to see how well they lift, whether they tear as I'm removing that masking tape. Oh, if it weren't so late at night, I would tell you to do it. Just save that energy, that painting energy for tomorrow. But that's what I want to hear. Because painting's so much fun. Even if you're just messing around, it's still a lot of fun. And I also wanted to quickly demonstrate. Okay, so that was the Pentel Pocket Brush. I didn't let it dry for 30 minutes, but it did dry for probably 15. This is on cellulose paper. It does a lot better on watercolor paper, but I am getting some movement. Okay, now I don't know which is the Neopico 3 and which is the High-Tech C, but I do know High-Tech C is not waterproof. So I expect it to move. And it could just be that I haven't been patient enough to let it fully dry. Actually, I think these were the High-Tech C, and they are surprisingly staying where they're at. They're like, no, I'm good. This paper's fine with me. I'm good. Oh, but on the cotton rag, not so much. I know that's the shame with the late evening streams is like by the time y'all can do it, it's almost a little late to get going. And then I know that black India ink, yeah, it's gonna be waterproof when dry. So we've tested out everything except the water brush. I'm not putting off the water brush. It's just that water brushes are For me, they tend to be leaky. I have hot hands and that just makes them leak water. So I have a lot of difficulty controlling the water flow with water brushes. And I also spend a lot, in fact, it's already like drippy. I also have a lot of difficulty controlling washes with water brushes. So for me, water brushes are not my favorite, which is one of the reasons I really wanted to see, you know, some explanation given. And I know one of the techniques she mentioned is filling this thing or putting, ooh, it seems like this, once it's dry, it doesn't seem like it's going to move a whole lot either. Interesting, because that's one of the things I struggle with gouache. And I know there are acrylic gouaches or gouaches made with acrylic as the binder medium out there. I've never bought any just because I had like this set of gouache that I got secondhand. And and it was a good brand, it was Winsor & Newton gouache. And I found that I didn't really like it. So I always kind of figured, well, if I'm not going to spend any time with the Winsor & Newton gouache, acrylic gouache I'm not going to spend any time with that. Despite having several friends who hate regular gouache and love acrylic gouache. But it's a little more movie on the cotton rag paper, but that just might be that it hadn't fully dried when I started scrubbing at it. And I do realize I'm going to be wasting a lot of paint when I clean out my tray tonight. R.I.P. But I think I will have better muscle control when droppering out the paint. So in the future, it shouldn't be such a big deal. So now it's time to start hunting these things down, finding out how much they cost, and seeing what the value of this box is. I know I'm repeating myself a lot. Part of that is I have ADHD. I do tend to get caught in circles. So it isn't like I'm trying to rail on someone. It's just how my brain is. But again, for me, a lot of the intrigue of the box, a lot of the value of the box is that I was hoping we would get more printed instructions or printed tips or how to use these materials than we got. So for me, some of that value, which is, priceless value, is lost from that. So that is definitely something that is, I'm going to be considering. So now I'm going to make a list of everything we got. And this is the unfun part. So if you want to take a break, if you want to do some stretches, get a snack, get some water, go to the bathroom, that's fine. I'm going to talk y'all through what I'm doing. I'm still going to be chatting, but basically we're looking stuff up. So it's not the most exciting thing. Oh boy, the German on here. That's one thing I'm not great at languages. Let me see what this word means. Zeichentusch? Hopefully I didn't mispronounce that and insult somebody. That's one of the reasons I've always been kind of about different languages, is that I know that in some languages a slight mispronunciation of something innocuous becomes a big insult. Okay, so this is actually calligraphy ink, and it uses, come on, acrylic resin. And stop it. Sorry, the page keeps loading new stuff. It uses acrylic resin and highly pigmented colorants. So this is actually an acrylic base. And I'm also going to pop all these notes, these show notes, in the description after the video is done. So cyan blue, yellow, magenta, black, orange. So I guess the bottle of Kingfisher blue that I got from them was their English release. Orange, sap green, violet, which would also make sense why the light fast information differs, because with India ink, for the most part, the light fast is all going to be fairly highly light fast. And it might differ by 1 star, but it's not going to differ a whole lot. You'll really see that in the Faber Castell Albrecht Dürer line. Okay, so poster color in white, and then I'm gonna the size. This is a decent size bottle, so it doesn't say how much. 40 milliliters. I assume these are available in different sizes, and while I know these are also, this seems like the smaller size. Okay, Masquepen, not 0.8 nib. And while we have Le Masque and Masquepen in the US, this particular nib, I haven't really seen it. So that's kind of exciting for me. That's a new one. Polychromos. We got 2 of those. And generally with Polychromos, they don't vary by color in terms of price. Cobalt green and Crapalac Rosa or Pink Madder Lake. Holbein synthetic watercolor brushes in 0 and 4, because generally the larger a watercolor brush, the more expensive it would be. Pentel Pocket Brush, Pentel Gouache. Oh yeah, the leader. Neopico line 3 and Pentel High Tech C, and then for color plastic eraser in the shade Mountain Dew combo mono eraser. I think that's every, oh no, MT white washi tape. So I also want to point, oh yeah, before I forget. This thing is kind of interesting. It's called Private Case. It's a pencil case. It is cardboard held together with a strap. I love the embossing on it. Pricing that's going to be interesting. And I'm also going to be a booty and compare the prices on her website in addition to what I can find online. Because for some of these, it might be more convenient to just order it from her website. So this is when I go ahead and turn on the virtual camera. Oh, wait, that's not what I want. That's what I want. So I guess we're going to start with the calligraphy ink. And again, just for disclosure, jet pens is going to come up a lot in the results. I don't like them, so I'm not giving them my business. So that's why I'm just going to blatantly ignore them. So if you want to shop with them, that's fine. We just have a bit of personal history that's not super great. Now the tricky part, though, is going to be finding it with somebody willing to deliver in the US. Yes, cult pens, save me. I do like cult pens. We have no... Yes, thank you. I know, because I've bought things from you, cult pens. They do ship to the US. And they also sell the really cool iron gall inks that Rohrer Klingner make, so, you know. Okay, so it seems like through cult pens, they are $3.82 per bottle. I'm not factoring in shipping at this time. I'm just trying to get a base price. But if you are going to order stuff from, you know, multiple sources, why are you away? Bring me the URL. If you are ordering stuff from various sources, the URL, I'm not the URL, dang it. Shipping prices are going to add up. So let me get out my trusty bocap calculator. And we got 7 bottles. So that is a value of $26.74 for all of those. Then we have our poster color. Now, an easy source is going to be just buy the whole set, which, who's going to do that? Are you serious? Are you really going to do this? Let's try just white. Is JetPens really the only one selling just that? Let me check Amazon real quick. So you can get the sets, which I am absolutely not recommending. You can also get them in tubes, which is kind of cool. Like if you wanted to try them and get a bunch of colors, that could be an affordable way to do that. Oh, you're killing me. You're really gonna make me. You're gonna make me. So I'm seeing a lot of the tubes. I'm sure they also have the bottles though. Oh, they don't. So even they don't offer a perfect analog. I'm a bad person. That makes me a little happy. So that poses an interesting problem. There are other brands that offer a similar size, like Shinhan, about $10. I'd say this is a $10 bottle. Well, dang, if I end up loving this, how am I going to get my fix? Ugh. Sorry. I both hate and love looking up art supplies with you guys because I always end up finding all these cool sites. And he lives in Japan, so of course he can access and compare the two. $4 though for a little bitty tube? Ugh. Okay, I really, really don't like doing this. So it is a 20 milliliter tube, and so it's half the size. So I would say this little bottle is about a $10 bottle. So my guess of $10 is pretty fair. Okay, let's try the Masquepen with the 8mm nylon nib. And this, you can buy just that and put it onto your existing bottle of Masquepen. Boy, they got so many options now for Le Masque. So many options. Glad to see Jerry's has got it. Oh, stop it with the pop-ups. Do you think the Super Nib Plus is even tinier?
You might want to make the screen big and your camera small.
Sure. My camera's already kind of small, but...
No, not your...
Oh, swap.
Not your
Swip
face
swap.
cam. Your
Gotcha.
Mark desk cam.
I'll just leave it as is for now. Because the desktop is big now, but you can't see the art. But nothing has changed with that yet, so I'm not super... I don't want to spend time figuring it out. Okay, so Jerry's has a couple prices. What is super? Does that mean I have to buy 10 of them? Jerry, you're not being very clear with me here. But that is, let's say $12.66, because I don't know what super is. And let's open.
Can't see your face cam anymore either.
No, I know. I will fix that. So I know Blick does Polychromos open stock, or I think, yeah, they do. So I'm just going to go to Blick because they typically have really low prices. And as you guys can see, it doesn't matter the color because they're all the same price.
There should be a scene or whatever.
There is a scene. That's what I clicked.
Oh, okay.
It's just everything is hidden. And I would rather just do this than, like, you know, spend 10 minutes being like, oh, I don't know. 234 times 2 Polychromos is 468 total. Now, the Holbein synthetic watercolor brushes are probably going to be tricksy. Do you have their brushes, Blick? Are you teasing me? You are teasing me. Their watercolors are good, though. I really like their watercolors. I haven't tried their other stuff, but I do like their water. Of course, her shop has it, and it's like one of the few that come up. And I am actually going to pull from the prices she has listed as well, just to see. I don't know. It doesn't even say anything about brushes here. I mean, I could give you prices for comparable Taklon synthetic brushes, but it's not, I know it's not the same. Especially because you could probably get like real cheap and find something like... Okay, please help me. You know, though, I have to say, back when I was like at SCAD and trying to buy Japanese art supplies, it was really hard to find anything. And now it's a lot easier. So even though I'm making groany, grunty complaint noises, it's still way easier than it used to be. Even if it's not easy tonight.
Need like an art supply.
Oh, it's a set.
Concierge.
Yeah, I would love to do that, to make money doing that. Let's... I don't want to have to just link her site because I do feel like that's a little maybe disingenuous on my part, you know, or lazy at least on my part, but I'm not really finding them. So, and like her site is the one that keeps coming up. I will say that, okay, in the US, if I were buying something similar to this, maybe it doesn't have the plastic handle. Maybe it does. I mean, because Princeton has a line. What is your name? What line are you? Maybe I'll just go with the closest analog at this point. Oh, gee whiz. I don't want to have to dive through Princeton's site. But you guys saw me try to find it on Holbein. Princeton synthetic watercolor brushes. While I love doing this digging, I do acknowledge that this is not entertaining for other people to watch. Like, I get that, and I appreciate your patience. Hopefully you took my advice and, like, went to the bathroom, got a snack, stretched. It seems like Princeton only offers this in its larger flats, so.
I don't think they can see your camera.
Oh, you're right, and I'm trying to show them. I'm a goofer. Oh, y'all, I'm sorry. They're just kind of generic-y golden Taklon brushes. Gosh, do I even have like a favorite golden Taklon? I don't really like golden Taklon, so it's not like I'm like, oh, I'll just list this instead. Sorry. Not at Michael's. Michael's is always overpriced. Yeah, let me finish this particular goose chase, the brushes, and I'll get caught up on the chat. Okay, so I'm going to be bad because I can't find what I actually need, and I do actually feel bad about this. And we're looking at a 4 and a 0 in rounds. Stop it with the pop-ups. You already get enough of my money. Okay, they don't seem to have... They have a... Ooh, that is super mini. That looks more like a 2 to me. So 4... 433 for the smaller brush. And then their 4 looks kind of like a 6. 671. And I apologize. Normally I don't like having to do substitutions like this.
Did you say if he thought it was going to be at the value?
Well, the thing is, for me, I'm gonna keep harping on this. If she had included a booklet with some of her techniques or explaining how she uses the materials, it would make it way more valuable to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I have a lot of our art in the box as well.
Well, we can talk about that in a minute because I do actually think the amount of customization she did does add value. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just gonna go with Blick for the Pentel Pocket Brush. This thing is super ubiquitous. You could probably get it at a gas station at this point. Oh, they're more expensive now. Ooh, so $14.04. They used to be $11.
I thought they were like $4. They're disposable, right?
No, they're not. They're refillable. Okay. They have cartridges, or you could converter fill them if you want to. Okay, and I'm looking for the larger brush. Oh boy. $7.65. Brand name water brushes are always kind of expensive. Wait, I said I was going to check the chat. I'm so sorry. After a point, I hit like ADHD, just like, let's get it done mode. And I sometimes forget other important stuff. Ooh. Oh, a Shadow left. Aw, oh well, bye Shadow. Hema said, I was watching Detective Conan on my tablet earlier and the site would have pop-ups. You must be on Crunchyroll. Or opened a new redirect tab because that's some Crunchyroll BS. Cindy said the only way I've seen the Knicker poster paint is in sets. Yes, yes. Well, okay. That site, which won't be, I'm not going to name again, does sell the smaller tubes, and they do seem a bit more affordable. Does Holbein mean like cow? I think you're thinking Holstein. Like, do they use cow hairs? These are synthetic. Yeah, it is actually named after a painter. So most art supply companies have not a whole lot of originality, and they just name everything after a long dead male painter. I have yet to encounter anything named after a female painter or female comic artist, because you all know we would all be dropping the big money if there was a Rumiko Takahashi anything. And he said, we're all goofy goobers. Definitely feeling like a goofy goober tonight. Definitely feeling like a brain dead goofy goober. Okay, so
brands in Germany not named after famous dead male painters, or am I misremembering?
Oh, well, Faber Castell is named after the founder of the company, but a lot of their sub brands, like Albert Dürer, that's a funny one to me, because Albert Dürer is best known for like his plate etchings, but they named their watercolor stuff after him. Yeah, Derwent doesn't seem to. The leader, art supplies US site. And myself and Kabocha order from the Deleter manga shop pretty frequently, so I've had good experiences with them, and they're a great way to get your art supply fix. And we need the Neopico line 3. Now I will say that, sorry, brain just shutting down on me, y'all. 321. Sakura microns are a pretty decent dupe for these. So if you don't want to order a bunch of them, or you don't feel like paying shipping, just get the microns if you're in the US. I mean, for all I know, microns are not common over there. So like none of my suggestions are in any way meant to be like a slight or like a judgment call. It's just me talking about what I like and what I have experience with. Now, unfortunately, that's a 4-pack for $14.58. And if I can help it, I don't want to link. Ooh, but I also think $3.30 is not a great. Ooh, like. Yes, Tokyo Pin Shop. Save me. Oh, you only sell the set. Oh, man.
You gotta start wrapping it up.
I know, I'm trying. I don't generally like doing the price searching live, because it does take a while to do it.
Yeah, and there was a lot in that box.
There was a lot in that box. That is true. Fine, I will go with the site I really can't stand. Mainly because I don't want to like be like, hey, buy 4 of these if you've never even tried it and you don't even know if you like it. The 4-color plastic eraser is going to be a battle to find as well, which is kind of a shame, because I didn't think it was that great. Oh man. Oh, fancy. I don't think that's the same thing. $3 isn't a bad price though. I'm gonna save you for later. I'm always looking for like stationery stores. I'm a creep. No, it's the same art supplies. It's more like I'm looking at other retailers. Unfortunately, to get this Mountain Dew flavored thing, there's only probably one place to go for that, which I hate giving them business. They were so nasty to me. But I love y'all more than I hate them. So that's a Dollar City. Oh, Tombow Mono Rate. This is going to be another one where I can get it on Amazon. Pack of 10. you can get a pack. Oh, oh yeah, that's right. They do retail pack. That's such a good price. I don't feel that bad. So for a pack of 5 small ones, it's $4.45 on the Tombow site, which is not bad. You're probably going to pay like $2, $3 for one on a certain site. So I'll just divide that price up. Now, normally I don't like doing that because most of us are not going to buy something we've never tried before in bulk just to get that bulk price. So I don't think that's generally a fair. About 89 cents. Oh. Okay. Amazon made that one easy. Thank you. So that was $4.20 on Amazon. I mean, empty masking tape can be expensive sometimes, but that feels a little excessive for something that doesn't even have a design on it. Now, the private case is the other thing. I'm just going to get it from her site. Not because, I mean, because it's got her labeling on it, you know, like, that's if I can find it. And I think what I'll do is, oh no, I can't find it on her site. Yeah. Oh, her prices seem fair though. Like, looking at it, her prices through her site are fair. Like, she wants $20 for the set of 3 inks. That's not a bad deal. The $7 for an gouache, you're gonna pay about that on Blick. So, you know, like, her prices are fair, which is kind of surprising because I've gotten used to going to artist sites and like they sell a few things and it's like they're to me, I'm like, that's moon dollars, because that is not. Oh, please, please. I'm gonna be so sad if I can't find it at all. Okay, this is their website at least. Oh, y'all. And then their site is laid out like self-management, self-expression, on the move. And I'm like, okay, I feel, is this leather or is this, that is leather, okay.
Trying to be Apple or something.
It's just, I never know how to shop for stuff like that because I don't think that way. Oh, I know with her logo, it's worth more than, oh, and that's in euros. They're gonna. I am. I'm just laughing because it's like, for some reason, this box has just given me so many hiccups. I'm laughing because it's ridiculously funny to me.
Oh, it's the last one?
Yes, it is the last one. And then I got to tally them all up. No. Stop it. What are you doing? Stop. Yeah, this, I thought this would go in a different direction. Let me just say that. Okay. I am not going to include the prices from her site on this stream because this has already taken a while and your patience is much appreciated. So the set of inks, 2 sets and a black, was $26.74 total. The poster color is about $10. I was looking for a price of $sign on the calculator. You can tell I'm tired. The Masquepen was $12.66 on Jerry's. The Polychromos, how did I not link where I got the price from? Those are from Blick. $2.34. $34. Now, I could never really find the Holbein synthetic. They're $10 for a set of 4 on her site. That seems like a fair price for what they are. I'm going to go buy the closest analog, which is Princeton Velvet Touch brushes, which are more expensive than what she wanted anyway. So I think that's fair. And you also have to consider for some of these things, it's tracking it down, buying it in bulk, packing it up, shipping it out. The Gouache was $7.65 on Blick. On her side, she just wants $7 for it. But also don't like go and buy 14 Gouaches from her just to have a horde of Gouaches. The Deleter was $3.12 on the Deleter site. That's as fair as you get. The 4-color plastic eraser. Oh, I'm sorry. The Pallet High Tech C. I felt like the fairest price was $3.30. The Seed eraser was $1.60. If you have to have Mountain Dew color. The Tombow mono erasers are approximately 89 cents each. The MT white washi tape was $4.20 on Amazon. The private case, according to their site, converted to USD was $9.43, and that is for a plain one. Hers actually has her logo on it, so it is probably worth more than that. But her site doesn't have it. Otherwise, I would have just grabbed the listing from her site, and I'm so sorry that I still have it. Okay, our grand total is $95.31. That is a big price difference.
I guess $142.69.
$95.31. Let's take a look at what her box costs on her site, if I can find it.
Does the packaging say how much she paid for shipping to you?
I think shipping is not, yeah, it says shipping calculated at checkout, but tax was included. So I paid $159 for this box. According to sleuthing in my calculator, the value of this box is about $95.31. To be fair, you know, some things have her branding on it that would make it a little bit more valuable. She did track down and assemble everything. Curation has a cost, even though we don't always pay it. That has a value. Some of these things, you're not going to be able to buy just one tube or one pot of it. You're going to have to buy the set. And we received, you know, just the white. And you can see we can mix a lot of colors with that. So to me, that has some value. The number one thing I would suggest to make this box feel like the value. And I mean, to be fair, she includes a lot of really, really cute personalized touches that do add value. I don't mean to disparage that. And then I already tossed the tissue paper, but it doesn't make up like a $60 difference either necessarily. The number one thing I would suggest to make up the value of this box is to include either links, like make it clear, like for a tutorial on how I use this poster paint, go here. It doesn't cost, I mean, it would mean reprinting these things, or you could even just include a flyer that says that, and that would just be the cost of printing up those flyers. It wouldn't cost a whole lot more, but it would add a lot of value to this. If it were me and someone gave me that advice, I'd be kind of hurt. Like, I'm not going to pretend like I wouldn't, but I would also turn around and maybe create a zine demonstrating how I use these things, or like the flyer sheet, or maybe some new tutorials where I very simply and basically explain what I'm doing. That's just me. I'm not going to tell her what to do. This box is incredibly popular. It sells out very quickly. So clearly there's a market for it. I'm not over here being like, this box isn't worth it. That's not my point. But to me, what really would have added that value, that irreplaceable value for me, is a zine or those links all organized for me, the buyer, so that I can figure out how she's using these things. Because I think, to me, that's the value of the box, is learning how to do a few things that she knows how to do. All right, so I'm going to try and use the pointy end to remove the masking fluid. I mean, it seems like it's working on the really gobby bits. It did tear the paper just there, though. Let's try.
That is technically removing the
it is, and the paper. It is not working over here. Like, I'm having no dice. I can even remove it with my finger better, and normally I am unable to get masking fluid up with just my finger. I have to use a frisket. The mask pen worked well once I figured out how to not make it pick up bubbles all over the place. Let me demonstrate my removal tool of choice. You can also use old masking fluid boogers, because that's basically what this is. I'll try it on the Saunders as well. Now, one thing I goofed is I did lines here for me to paint over them, and then I didn't paint over them. I actually really like this Lamask masking fluid. The mode of application, once I figured out how to do it, is decent. What I do is I use a really small brush, usually a synthetic brush, with longer bristles than this one though. And I have a dinky dip with masking fluid in it, and this way I'm not exposing my full bottle to air and possibly causing it to spoil faster. And this is also just a more manageable size for me. I am wrapping up. I'm basically like removing the things that need to be removed, and then that's basically it. Okay, so the masking fluid for the most part removed cleanly, maybe not so much from the sketch. I am noticing the washi tape is tearing up the surface of the paper. We did get a clean line. It did tear up the paper. I mean, the blue painter's tape does that too. Most washi tapes I use do that. So, you know, that's not a surprise, but you don't need MT white washi tape to do that. You can use, you know, regular masking tape. You can use regular washi tape. It does work a little bit better though on the Saunders. The Saunders is not, I guess, as delicate as a surface. I didn't have any tearing on the Saunders, and we did get a nice clean edge. There was a little bit of seepage, not that bad, not as bad as some of the cheap washi tapes I've used. So MT makes good washi tape in general. Unless it costs extra though, get some with a pattern you like, and that way you can use it for your stationery too. All right, y'all, this one ended up being longer than I kind of expected it to be. I really appreciate all of y'all who like hung out with me, spent the evening with me, tested out some art supplies with me. I really appreciate it. Joseph guessed that it would be $142.69. You know, frankly, I was thinking 120s, and I would have been like, that's fine with me, you know?
Yeah.
Cindy said, I was thinking around that price because of import fees and the price of $1 versus the euro, plus availability will most likely bite the hardest, methinks. Yeah, that is all stuff that when I was grabbing these prices, I wasn't necessarily taking that into consideration. So the price I got is probably not the fairest price, which is why I'm not mad about it. Calvin said it's pretty much expected. Otherwise, all the company that made a box like this would go out of business. And several of those art subscription boxes have. One of the tricks for that is buying in bulk. Places like Blick offer serious discounts if you just start buying at 10, and it goes up from there. There's also something called a wholesaler's license that some of those companies like Arts Next, I'm sure, has a wholesale license where they can purchase these art supplies at their wholesale price rather than purchasing them at their mass market price. I assume Heikala is buying at the bulk price but doesn't have access to the wholesaler price. So that's another reason why I might like rail when I'm reviewing a major subscription box that doesn't have good prices, but I'm not railing in this instance. Cindy said, my guessing is that shipping and concurrency conversion may push it a bit more. And I did pay shipping on top of this, but tax was included. So tax should, it being Finland, I don't really know whether I'm paying US taxes or Finnish taxes, and if there's import and duty, that was included in. I would be curious to know. I do know paying duty, especially for stuff from the UK, can get expensive, and some companies choose to subsume those costs. So I don't know in that instance. But my number one takeaway that I would like to see, and this is, I'm bringing this up a lot because it is fixable. I would like to see an included handout with all the relevant links for maybe like a basic introduction of how to use these materials, and links to several of the techniques sort of mentioned, like how you can fill the gouache with ink and then ink with that, or mixing the poster color with these colors. While that might seem obvious to some people, it is just completely new to other people, and that would add a lot of value, because then you're not buying the box for the art supplies, you're buying the box for the art knowledge that you're getting. What I would love to see, but it's a lot of extra work, is, like I said, a zine with these super cute illustrations. I'm just so charmed by these illustrations. You know, that style, explaining how to use them, or even just more text and images of, you know, certain techniques being demonstrated would go a really, really long way. My biggest disappointment was when it was pointed out to me that she does have videos on how to use these on her YouTube channel, but there is no mention of that in anything that was included. Not even that she has a YouTube channel. And that's the biggest disappointment to me, because if you're giving this box as a gift to someone who likes anime or manga style art, someone interested in watercolor, they might not be familiar with her, and they might not know to check YouTube for those tutorials. So that is my biggest complaint. If that is addressed, I would definitely say this box is worth it. In the end, though, supporting an artist whose art I have long admired on social media for free is good enough. You know, like, it's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. That makes me happy. But for every artist, you got to make your own decisions, you know? Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for 3 hours tonight. I hope this answered any of the, well, it probably didn't answer all of your questions, but I hope it answered some of your questions, at least about what's in the box, how it's used, how useful it is, and whether or not it's worth it for you. If you think it's worth it, the boxes are still available on her site, and you have the heartwarming knowledge that you are helping to financially support another artist, which I always think is really cool. Like, you know, I try to do that pretty frequently here with buying zines and buying comics and buying art supply kits, you know, so I'm a big fan of that. And I really hope I will see you guys next Thursday when we celebrate 7-inch Cara Day with a fun RP stream. That's new for me, so I'm really looking forward to it. And on Monday, instead of our usual chill stream, I think we're going to do our Sakura Co. unboxing for July. So I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. I had a lot of fun hanging out with you guys, and I hope to see you guys again soon. I hope y'all have a great week. Bye, guys. Thank you. Thank you for hanging out. I hope y'all are safe and happy and healthy.